Today's date is December 22nd, 2019. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we're here to give you all the saucy deets on everything comics this week. For those of you unfamiliar with the show, this is your weekly comic book podcast where Emery and I, and perhaps a guest,
Hey, Cornell.
go through the latest news, the new comic book releases from your local comic book shops,
Please support your local comic book shops.
and discuss some topics about the world of comics for your amusement. If that sounds like a good time, be sure to hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and rate well elsewhere. It really does help us out. You can always find us on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes, or whatever the Apple equivalent is now. And be sure to check out our website, www.htbvids.com, where you find links to all of these things, as well as plenty of written content and lists. All right. Cornell,
Nice.
why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. So, my name is Cornell. I like long walks on the beach, light wines. No, just kidding.
We said introduce yourself, not write out your Tinder profile. Come on.
Who's behind curtain number 2?
I think like a lot of young people wouldn't even get that.
Probably
joke.
not. No.
It's fucking old people jokes. It sucks, man.
There's a lot of celebrities that was on that show, too.
Yeah,
It was kind of
were.
weird. Nobody knew it yet.
Because that type of thing was cool back then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some shit people did.
I mean,
Celebrities just
famous
chilling.
people, also need to go on dates.
Yeah, they should actually date more. Like, they always end up with other famous people.
Yes.
And there's only so many fucking famous people to go around. Like, they are
And half of
bound
them
to
are
end up
assholes.
in bad
you know?
relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you
It's
can
like-
end up in a fucked up relationship.
You want to date Gwyneth Paltrow or Gwyneth Paltrow? I'd just rather kill myself. Thanks.
Yeah, right. I was just talking about that earlier today. Like,
Yeah.
how many bad relationships Halle Berry been in, right? So like they're like, oh yeah, she's fine, Halle Berry, but like
I think the question
her
becomes
fucking track
who is
record is fucked up.
who is the common denominator in all those?
Halle Berry? Exactly, that's
You gotta
what I'm
wonder.
saying.
But she looks so innocent.
Yeah,
So pure.
that's how
The
bad
worst
one
ones do.
What the bitch from Smallville? What's her name?
Ooh.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, you mean
I call
the
her
sex
bitch
cult lady?
because she is on the DL. Obviously a bitch.
These people are actors.
Dude, she had a sex cult that she was recruiting women in and trapping them in prostitution with.
She was a madam.
Kinda.
Low key.
And she literally came up with the idea to have them all branded with the main guy's initials and everything.
Oh my god.
So
Bro.
you never know
The
who
details.
the fuck you're looking at, bro.
Yeah, she is on ID channel now, being interviewed about the whole thing, about how the whole process went, and now she's in jail. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, she was like the cute, innocent girl next door from Smallville. That was her role, and now in real life, she's like fucking selling innocent young woman into sex trafficking, sex slavery.
Yeah, like guilty
acting
of
is
sex
scary,
crimes. What the fuck? How do you think that the branding hookers with someone's like name initials is a good idea outside of like putting it in a movie? Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. I'm looking at you.
Oh, Cornell, is there anything you wanted to put out in the universe, promote, or anything like that?
All right, so I got this janky little book, right? It's a history book called Erie, the War of 1812, and no, it's not it.
You did write it, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the Kindle version here real quick,
All right, I'll edit it out.
just to make sure. No, that's cool. I'm gonna have this on the show.
Riveting.
Riveting.
Look, sometimes we're so busy that we forget all of the things that we've taken part in.
Like, the show. Now, to be fair, we did record 2 shows. One got lost because the audio got corrupted, and the other one got messed up because the synchronization wasn't working out, and we lost part of the clip during the synchronization. It corrupted the file, and so we have 2 lost episodes. I might put that second one out in the universe without that section, but it was kind of like an important section. It was
here it is.
the main topic of the show.
Yeah.
It begins with Erie and ends with Erie. That's all I was confused about. I mean, I had the right name, but as I was saying it, I
Yeah.
realized that, and I just
Is
don't
it-
say it very often. So,
Right. It's
Okay.
not very often that you introduce your book.
so can I say it again?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, it's called Victory, Erie, the War of 1812, and the Battle of Lake Erie. Written and illustrated by me. It's a janky little book, but I did it comic book style, a little bit gangster with it. It's available in ebook format on Amazon.com.
So you got William Henry Harrison in there murking people. Is that what's going on?
Actually, it's
I'll read
the
that
main
book.
Character is Oliver Hazard Perry.
Yeah, from
And his crew.
I grew up in Port Clinton area, so
And,
real familiar.
the Native American sharpshooters, badasses, including Tecumseh, and motherfuckers ripping out hearts and chopping off heads and shit. That was some gangster shit, man.
It was a
Like-
wild time back then.
Dude,
Yeah, and
Ohio is the old
His
West.
brother
It's the
fucked
old
everything
frontier.
up.
He did.
Yeah, Tecumseh's brother fucked up everything.
He really kinda did.
It's
He kinda
your
did.
fault.
But on some real shit, though,
I'm a
niggas-
prophet. Follow me.
Not to be fucked up, because this is kind of like, could be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
But using current slang, okay?
Uh-huh.
The Indians was straight fucking savage. Okay? No,
I mean,
they
to be
really
fair,
kicked
they
ass.
were fucking pissed off, and they had every right to be
Oh,
pissed off.
But they was some bad
Right.
motherfuckers.
They did, yeah,
man.
they did some fucked up shit.
They gonna
yeah.
roll up on some motherfucking canoes and shit. You got 50 canoes roll up.
Yeah. I mean,
And tie you to a tree with your own intestines.
Yeah,
And then
man.
put hot coals around you so you can't walk
They was
away.
doing it, man. That was-
yeah, that's how you knew they were mad.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were soft spoken though, I guess. The northeastern ones were soft spoken. These is different Indians than one you see on TV and shit. These are the
Because half the ones you see on TV are an old Jew pretending to be an Indian and
There
crying.
is that. There is that.
The most famous Native American for like 2 decades is crying over litter. It turns out he was a Jewish guy who pretended to be an Indian.
Oh.
Native American.
Hashtag
yeah,
Sephardic
yeah.
Jews.
But he really did have the features down. Like when I look at that dude, I definitely get Native American.
Yeah, I never thought I
Learning
would
more
be
from them.
looking at movies like Blazing Saddles and thinking to myself, accurate.
Really? I
No,
saw
if
that
any-
shit, man.
If anybody's interested in like that era of like Midwestern history, a really good book I recommend also is it's an older book. It's a narrative history book though, so it's pretty fun to read because it reads just like a regular novel or something would.
That's cool.
It's called The Frontiersman, and it's the first of a series called The Winning of America, which, you can kind of take that one way or another.
Right.
Obviously,
Conquering of the people, or-
the author is Alan W. Eckert, and obviously he's a white guy. But the book is written very cool, very respectfully, very fairly, and it talks about all these fucking crazy frontiersmen and crazy Native Americans and just French and British assholes, just coming down and ruining everything.
There's
Like,
some fucking characters out
yeah,
there.
they were crazy. They were.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to be a little crazy to go into the wilderness during that age.
Dude,
so
Ohio is the old
it's not like you
frontier,
had
man.
Google Maps or anything. You
This
were
is the original Wild West.
You were on your own.
It's like the
And it's still like that.
it's like in an era when having to actually draw map lines was a thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they would mark their property by sticking a hatchet in the tree and carving their initials. And they're like,
Is-
"All right, recognize as my land now." And then
Is-
everybody's like, "No, people already live here. What are you talking about?" Meanwhile, Daniel Boone's going out there carving his initials in every tree.
He's like, mine?
Yeah.
Mine?
Yep.
Mine?
That's exactly how they did it.
Daniel Boone.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nuts. All right, enough of the history lessons. This is a comic book show, I guess. But thank you, Cornell, for coming on the show. We're happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so back to the usual format. So for those of you unfamiliar with the show, usually we start off talking about what we've been reading and watching recently, comic book related, of course. Then we talk about our segment, Did the Content Match the Drapes? Unfortunately, this week there will not be any Did the Content Match the Drapes because we didn't have a comic of the week for like so many weeks.
Yeah, it's been a
'cause
little while.
We haven't had a show get finished in a while. So apologies for that, but we are back and running and everything should be good. Even got a new editing computer, which should speed things up a little bit.
Progress.
After that, we go into the news. We talk about all the news we may or may not have missed and the big stories that everybody's talking about on the Twitterverse and Instagram and all that stuff. And then we talk about the newest books coming to your local comic book shops.
Again, please support your local comic book shops.
Please do. There's not a whole lot this week because it's Christmas week. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever else you celebrate.
Ho, ho, ho.
It
Winter
is pronounced Hanukkah.
I'm the one who's Jewish here. My mother was Jewish.
How am I the one schooling you on this then?
How are you gonna teach me how to say Hanukkah?
Look, you said it wrong. I
It's
had to
spelled
bring it
3
up.
different ways. Make sense of that.
Okay, I'll make sense of it right after you make sense of pronunciation.
Wow. I just got mansplained.
Okay. Mansplained. We're both men. It's just splaining.
eh,
Let
Yeah,
me explain you something real quick.
Thank you, Cornell.
Explain it
So-
to me one more time.
It's like,
because
roll that
once
back.
again, there's not a lot of comics coming out this week. It's not really fair to give out a prestigious Nate life-changing award of comic and variant comic cover of the week. So we're gonna skip that topic this week, but normally we would, and then we'll finish the show with a nice topic of discussion. So if that sounds like a good time, be sure to stick around and let us know what you think. So, Emery, what have you been reading? Spoiler alert for the 2 lost episodes. Guess what he complained about the entire time?
Thanks. I hate it. Oh.
I mean, give credence to the legend, man.
It-
I mean, when it came out, it had its purpose. You know. what I mean?
Go ahead. Talk about Jonathan Hickman and how much he has ruined your childhood.
You mean Jonathan Hackman?
Yeah, well, you know.
Let the anger flow.
Yes.
Good,
Let the anger flow through me.
Yeah.
It-
Some good
yeah.
healthy anger here. I see.
Previously on We're All on an Island, and I don't know why we aren't calling this Lost.
Because we have gold balls.
Oh, you're behind. He's trying to change his name to Egg now.
Oh, great. Much better. Much better. That's way not
Why,
lame
why,
at
why
all.
is there a superhero named Egg? And why is there
He used to be
X-Men
called Gold
named
Balls.
Egg?
Right.
Gold balls.
His name was Gold Balls.
Like, in case you're
Is that
wondering
something
what...
you, like tell chicks in bars, like yeah.
I got that gold nut, baby. Come on.
They call me Gold Balls.
Every time I arrive, they call it the money shot.
Yeah, that's
Or at least I feel like that's
gold.
what's happening to my face every time I open one of these fucking books.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. These books, I feel like
And yet you keep putting it in your face, don't you? See? You say it's a problem, but you keep putting it in your face.
this is an abusive
Yeah.
relationship.
You're like
I'm looking for someone to help me out here. Please, someone tell me that there's a better way because I keep crawling back, hoping that they've changed.
You're a masochist. You just can't bring yourself to admit it. So what's the latest development in the world of Egg?
This is X-Men, by the way.
Yes. In case you were wondering, those of you at home watching.
Curious, Emery is not happy with the direction that X-Men has taken in
and-
its current incarnation.
In all 6 of their weekly titles. 6 of them. One of which takes place in space because, even we knew that this shit was a dumb idea.
Kind of like Rambo. Well, this is
Maybe. Okay, please elaborate on that.
First Rambo movie came out, right?
Okay, yeah,
It's
the
like
First
this
Blood.
fucking drama and shit,
It-
right?
I really like that
It's
first
a
movie.
serious fucking drama, right?
Yeah.
Then Rambo 2 came out, was a little bit more violent.
Yeah,
Then
it-
Rambo 3 came out. On the fucking cover, it's the Rambo we all know with the fucking headband and the Jerry curl and the fucking M16 and the high kill count and shit. I mean, dude, that's how it progressed. It's turned from we got this serious fucking drama by Stallone, who's
Right.
a serious dude, you know.
It was like a
writes
movie
tragedies.
a movie that really highlighted some of the tragedies of what it was like to be a vet coming home from the war.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very much a social statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we make the next one, and it's about, we had to, just when he thought he was out, we had to pull him back in.
Right.
Did
right.
anybody see the last one where he's like on a farm or something? I heard it was really bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Get
no.
worse
I
and
didn't
worse.
see it.
I mean, that's generally the rule.
Yeah.
Like the fucking legend Van Damme kickboxer and shit.
Oh.
I mean, didn't that get worse and worse?
Our Van Damme movie's really good though.
Dude, that fucking
Yeah, blood
kickboxer
sport and
was
stuff like that.
everything,
It's like,
bro.
oh,
Street Fighter the
Okay.
movie.
All right, the original kickboxer.
I mean,
was everything.
he can do some
Anything else,
impressive shit,
I'm
but
cool with it.
Okay.
you know,
Back to the thing that I'm talking about that I hate.
sorry.
My bad, bro.
This is a nice session for us to vent, you know, our
oh, yeah.
frustrations with our favorite
Oh.
franchises.
Oh yeah, that is X-Men. Good old big brain Jonathan Hickman decided to right out of the gate, after establishing this new home for the mutants.
Been there, done that.
Yes, because Martin
Didn't go
Luther
so well
King.
last time.
Martin Luther King should have totally been about segregation and giving up on the dream.
If you guys don't know, it's widely accepted theory that Magneto, the villain for X-Men, represents Malcolm X,
Yep.
while the mutants represent black people, and Professor X represents
Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar, didn't know, that is the common accepted allegory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegory.
And the island they're staying on represents Liberia, which is a real country founded.
It's probably like Haiti. 'Cause it's an island. I don't know.
Okay.
Haiti was a slave colony, though.
Yeah.
Liberia was where they sent former slaves to be free in their own country.
Yeah.
It was an initiative to take freed slaves because they weren't able to culturally integrate with the era, you know.
Yeah.
What? Because it's fucking racist as fuck. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
You mean like,
and they
like now?
Like,
and they
you know,
made
if they're not working for free, then get them the fuck out of here.
yeah, and they basically bought a colony on the west coast of Africa and made it its own independent nation called Liberia, and that
Yeah.
nation's still around
I'm familiar
today,
with
obviously.
Liberia,
Yep.
but I wasn't so aware of its history. That's,
Liberia because of liberation.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to go for.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And
Like
so
Green-
it was supposed to
like
be.
Greenland and
Yeah, 'cause you-
Iceland sort of thing.
Yeah, because if you think
Yeah.
about it, you couldn't take people that were born and raised in America and spoke English and were Christian and whatever else and send them back to Africa and expect them to suddenly integrate again because they don't
Right.
speak the language. They're not culturally
Yeah,
African
the-
anymore.
Generations
Yeah.
removed.
Shit,
Yeah.
right.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
It was kind of fucked up in practice, but that was
Yeah.
because
There was a
American
lot of shit that was
history is really
in
fucked
practice
up.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like the slave days, the early slave days was like almost on the tail end of like medieval England and shit. So the shit they were doing was
Yeah, it's like
kind of like still medieval things.
Yeah, going from medieval to colonial. That whole like we're progressing at all costs to any means necessary. We have to expand and reach this new world because our homeland needs resources. And oh, we actually like it over here better. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fucking,
And if you look at
native lands.
Liberia's flag, it's literally an American flag with one star on it.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It's a real place.
I didn't know that was
Real history.
I didn't know it was a fucking. I didn't know that was their flag.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, in this comic book where we're trying to do Liberia, but worse and stupid, we have now gotten to the point where not only are people, non-mutants, finding their way onto this island any fucking way. Because like they've had a very exclusionary stance, like we only accept mutants on this island, except for like certain like special cases. We have managed to have a strike team do like a halo jump, get all the way onto the island, and already at this point managed to assassinate Charles Xavier.
Wow.
And a couple issues, we already brought him back.
Oh.
Because gold balls. I mean, egg.
Egg.
Gold eggs.
Egg. Ugh, God, fuck
This-
that character.
This whole story is
Fucking
stupid.
platinum nuts.
Oh, let me tell you how fucking stupid this story is. Meanwhile, the Golden Girls have managed to, because they're good with plants, hijack one of these plant gateways and just show up and come up with a goop that just neutralizes mutant powers temporarily.
Thank
Like
you
Betty
for
White,
being a friend.
They might as well have been. They were this fucking old.
Hey, B. Arthur was a
Yes.
fucking badass, all right? B. Arthur would fuck someone up.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
Oh, you mean Blanche? No, not Blanche. The one with the white hair.
The big, the
y-
tall one.
Yeah.
the one that was
She was a
always
former
fucking
Marine.
mean and
Yeah,
shit.
she used to be a Marine.
She
Okay.
did seem really fucking tough. Like she would body slam.
Oh,
him.
dude, she would fuck someone up so quick.
Yeah. Blanche notwithstanding.
Dude, I love Blanche, man. Like, you know what? Honestly, like, I would kind of be like watching that shit, and I would see Blanche and shit. And I know she was older and shit, but I was kind of like,
Yeah, we all would. Yeah, we all would.
Okay. See, here's the thing with that.
it's an attitude thing, man. I mean,
Okay. Imagine senior citizens who spend most of their time talking to each other about whether or not they're getting Social Security for either themselves or from their dead spouse. Just absent-mindedly making their way onto the island and taking whatever fucking plants they want and saying that, we forgot you're here. Goop. This is X-Men now.
There's a lot of dumb mutants out there.
that's fucked up.
Also, while we're at it, imagine from beyond the plains, Morgana Le Fay is dealing with Apocalypse for some weird reason because they're also after the mutant island because King Arthur tales are what we want to tell with the mutants now.
Wait, King Arthur tales?
Yeah, yes, Camelot, Excalibur. The team is literally named Excalibur. I remember when we had that team back in the 90s and we just called it Excalibur because a lot of them were British. But now we're actually getting stupidly literal with it and involving
Well,
the
everybody's
person.
British now, anyway. Fucking James Bond. Was they the new James Bond chick that was in that fucking Marvel movie? And it's kind of funny because you see these British actors in these movies like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You don't know they're British until you see them in an interview.
Yeah.
Carl.
Yeah. And it's like they're walking among us and shit.
Yes.
There's a few
They're being
clues.
hired because we want people who
Are you British?
are
Are you British?
Like-
motherfucker?
You'll never know.
I know. Right? You never know.
I'm good at my job.
We got some fucking tea and crumpets upstairs, and we don't know. We never fucking knew. We never
Yeah.
took them out.
On that point,
yeah.
the one that fooled me the most was the lead character from Sons of Anarchy, the blonde guy.
Oh, fucking the guy who played
Is he
Jax
British?
Teller, like Charlie fucking Hunnam. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
British.
Dude, that's
He's
fucked
straight.
up.
Yeah, he's
He,
straight.
he
Like
walks American. He sounds American. Everything about him is
That's
American.
So, that's
He
fucked up,
he
man.
he did a good job studying
But he's-
how Americans walk and talk.
Yeah,
You
he's
know, speaking
fucking
of the
English.
War of
Yeah.
1812 and
Oh, yeah.
shit, they vowed to get America back under their control. Maybe this is
They're
how
doing
they're
it through
gonna do
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
We'll
never
get
know.
them through their entertainment.
Worried about the
first.
Russians, but it's the
Sons of
damn
Anarchy.
British. We
All
gotta
of
worry
these
about.
Americans really like James Bond, right?
I
That's
like
how it
James Bond.
starts.
James Bond's cool
Hey,
as
no one
fuck.
knew who fucking Doctor Who was over here until very recently. All right, so
We had to lay groundwork back in the 60s for that one.
Well, my girl likes Doctor Who. Hey, baby. She knows all about it.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I like Doctor Who too. But it's like it's starting to add up, man. There's like more and more British shit. The Office, originally British. Shameless,
yep.
Really?
originally British.
The Office was originally British?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Scranton, PA office?
No.
Well, I mean,
It was in
it.
Britain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
But now it's
Was it in
Scranton, right?
Sussex? It might have been
I don't know.
Sussex.
I
But-
don't know. I don't know the British territories. I barely
Yeah.
know the fucking Columbus territories. and shit. There's like certain parts of the north side out. I'm lost, bro.
You'll figure it
Sussex.
out. Give it time.
Devonshire. Houndstooth.
So
Um,
so sorry we keep interrupting you. What's
Yeah, my bad, bro.
what's the
Uh,
latest thing? Oh, did
so-
I tell you that that strike force snuck onto the island because they cut off strips of domino to pass detection?
Cut off strips of domino. The girl Domino?
Yeah, the girl.
Who's
They
lucky?
literally
So
took her.
They got undetected by using her flesh to be lucky.
Yeah, they put strips
this,
of her
Saw?
flesh on themselves
What the fuck?
in order to look like a mutant.
Is that how
Saw
mutant powers
Massacre?
work? You just cut their flesh and you
Does
can
Domino
use their
have
powers?
any powers? Except
Her-
being like fucking Panda?
Her power is luck.
Oh, is it?
It's not very cinematic.
No.
Oh, is that it? Look.
Yeah, her powers are purely
although
luck based.
Deadpool 2 proved us wrong. They found a way.
It did.
What-
Deadpool 2
Zazie
managed to
Beetz
take Zazie Beetz and not,
Zazie Beetz.
yeah,
Yeah, she plays Domino in Deadpool 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's her name?
yeah.
Oh, is she like a pop star?
No, but she is actually
I know
She's
her
German.
real fucking name ain't Zazie Beetz.
she's German, so it probably is.
It could be, but I mean, she's a cute girl. I like her and shit. But I didn't know her name was Zazie Beetz. Like, yeah, can I speak to Zazie Beetz, please?
I'm sorry, you keep saying Zazie, and I keep hearing Beats by Dre. Beats by Dre. Do you want me to get you Beats by Dre headphones? Is that a thing that we're doing right now?
No, but you know they do call them Beats. So you might just be able to call her Beats. When I speak to Beats, and then you go, you.
Oh God.
No, I had to play shit out.
But yeah, going from that all the way back into the darkness that will never escape me. Yes, that character that Zazie Beetz played in the comics, they took her skin and damn near went Silence of the Lambs with it.
I sound like Chainsaw Massacre type of shit. Yeah. What kind of? This is not the X-Men that I knew and loved.
This is just not my X-Men.
Now, don't get me wrong. That fucking Wolverine shit and the hyperbaric chambers and all that shit, like, that was pretty brutal and shit. You know what I mean? Weapon X. That was some dark shit, okay? But that was the darkest shit, okay? That was the darkness that fueled the light. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you about some really dark shit involving Wolverine now.
Oh,
That
shit.
doesn't involve him probably being in an open threesome with Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Their rooms are connected.
They ran a train on.
Yeah.
Not only are their rooms connected, they have real estate on the moon.
You know, this is fucked up, though, because out of all the people that Wolverine would run a train with, it would not be fucking Cyclops. He hates Cyclops.
We all do. It's just a fact
We
of
all
life.
do.
Cyclops sucks.
I still want him to be
He's an
the leader,
asshole.
Okay,
right?
all right.
He's like Tom Brady and shit, right?
Yeah, he's an effective leader.
Exactly. He's Tom Brady.
Sometimes
He really
effective
is.
leaders have to be douches.
I mean, all the
Like
time.
if I was a
like,
leader,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the douche, but I know in order to get shit done is like, hey,
I think
you
you're born a
stop what the
douche.
fuck you're doing and get back to the thing that we're doing.
I think you can't be a douche though. You're either born a douche or you're not a douche. Like fucking Tom Brady, he has like no fucking personality. You know, Peyton Manning, same thing. You know,
Oh, I was almost going to get you that costume for Halloween.
I wouldn't have fucking worn it. You know I hate Cyclops. Cyclops
Yeah.
sucks.
so you gotta get somebody else to run a train. Maybe strong.
He
guy
fucks
from
over everybody. He
X-Force.
kills everybody.
Maybe fucking Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool would be a bit
Cheats
much.
on everybody.
Maybe fucking Professor X.
Okay,
Yo. All right, how
he
about
doesn't-
this? How about if he's
okay.
gonna run a train with somebody, gotta be Magneto.
To be fair, anytime Cyclops has cheated, it has been because he
Cyclops
thought
cheated?
his spouse was
All the
dead.
Please. He's fucking Emma Frost right in front of her.
Oh shit!
come on.
I'm a Frost,
Okay,
bro.
to be fair, at this point, she's probably going to be the added room.
You know what? I wouldn't put that past nobody, including Cyclops, man. Emma Frost, man. I mean, she's a fucking comic, but I mean, she's always been a
yes.
bad bitch.
Oh yeah.
You know how
But
much
Wolverine,
Venereal disease is in that woman. Come on now.
none. She's a mutant.
she's
They
a
don't
mutant.
catch those.
Please.
She probably do though. Probably like Jenna
No,
Jameson.
it's probably
I
like
mean-
twice as bad because
Right.
she's
Like
a mutant.
fucking mutant venereal diseases.
Yeah.
Good God.
Probably has tentacles and shit. Runs away from antibiotics and shit. Just like that fucking alien thing. Yeah.
No.
I still hit it.
No.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Wolverine, and I shit you not, this was just recently revealed people have been asking questions about this. Like, if we do something stupid, like have Wolverine incinerate at the sun, trying to, send like the mother mold into it and have that thing melt, and he just completely fucking dies, and we bring him back through their bullshit process.
Gold balls.
Does he get reborn with the adamantium on? No, he doesn't.
His DNA
But-
doesn't have that.
But guess what? They have adamantium there.
They regrafted it.
So they retortured him.
They literally retorture Wolverine every time he's reborn at this point so that they could put the metal back on him.
Is he like a metaphor for Jesus? What the fuck is going on here?
I don't know
no one
what
knows.
version of the Bible you've read.
Well, what
But-
I mean is this whole fucking, he has to die to bring us to glory.
Well, everybody's dying. That's the problem.
Right. Like, the
Because
entire
so we can
premise
bring
of
them
this
back
is
with
that
gold balls.
death no longer has meaning for the mutants because of the 5 people that they use to reincarnate them anytime they die.
What drives me crazy is that they
like a
basically
video game.
tried to kill off the mutants and X-Men overall because they didn't own the rights to them for the movie rights.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to force Inhumans into the picture and make them the new mutants because they needed to make a movie franchise and we're wasting money not being able to make these movies.
Right.
And-
It's like we need them. They have all the
Yeah.
best villains, but we're going to try to do
And
something with the Inhumans
It
instead.
failed completely because nobody likes the Inhumans, and the Inhumans sucked as a TV/movie.
I
product.
get the impression the
Yeah.
people that are writing these comics are not people who read comics.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'd say it's about half and half. Yeah,
I would say that
I
it's
think the quality
probably
shows that too.
Marvel, as it stands right now, is probably 90% written by people who didn't and probably still don't actually read comics.
Yeah,
You really
so.
can't recreate the atmosphere that kind of created X-Men and all that. You had old fat motherfuckers like Joe Buscema and shit like that. And they was sitting around in this smoky old office with wood paneling and shit, drinking scotch and cussing and shit. And then, and they were creative as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but now they finally get the rights to the X-Men and several other franchises, and they choose this route to bring them back, which basically nullifies the whole point of the X-Men, which is the analogy of struggling minority groups.
They completely nullified what the X-Men were originally about.
They
Hold on,
completely
it
took
was
the stakes.
inspired by that conflict, but I don't know necessarily that it has to carry through the whole thing. You
I,
know what I mean?
I think you kind of do. It's kind of the whole point of the property.
yeah. It's
And
the-
then, yeah.
Yeah,
and then,
like primarily what the X-Men have been about whenever their story structure is good is about one, acceptance and integration into society and learning not only where you fit but how you can contribute without going down the route of Magneto, which is
The Brotherhood of
exclusionary, violence, segregation.
That is the basis, okay?
Yeah, that's the basis.
That is the inspiration. Okay?
Yeah.
But when you take a metaphor, it doesn't always completely translate in every aspect. But that's
right.
the core. That's
yeah.
the core, though.
But,
that's the core.
with this reboot, not only did they get rid of that completely, but they took any stakes out because now it doesn't fucking matter if they die; they're just gonna be revived by gold balls,
Right.
which is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. And they basically went back to the island, which is something that almost caused the entire mutant race to be extinct in the first place.
right. That's the premise of
which-
this new timeline is, oh, yeah, you're all on one island? Yeah, we're going to send a bunch of sentinels and kill all of you, or
Yeah.
at least try.
And they suggest that McTavish has lived through all of this, but
Yeah.
obviously she didn't learn any fucking thing because we're just repeating history here in the most nonsensical way. I just,
We almost died because we were all on an island. What do we do this time? Find another island? Wait.
Yeah.
Let's think about this a little bit more. Let's
not
find
the
another
X-Men, though.
island that's also a mutant.
yeah.
Yes, we're on Krakoa.
Krakatoa, yeah.
Yeah, on purpose this time.
Oh, jeez.
That doesn't make sense.
No, that's some
It did
bullshit,
not make
man.
a change. This is Chewbacca.
You can't just fucking. It's not burnt toast. You can't just fucking scrape it off and put it on the plate. That's what they're doing. They fucked it up. They're trying to scrape it off and put it on the plate, and it's just no. Get another fucking piece of toast. Make that shit right.
Let me tell you how bonkers this shit is, like, going forward. The council that they've created consists of Charles Xavier, Magneto.
You mean reincarnated Charles Xavier?
I mean, yeah, at this point,
One of several, I'm sure.
yeah, it's like that's the thing with Charles Xavier. He's wearing a big old metal helmet now that literally keeps everyone's souls, because that's a thing that it can do, and like keeps them saved on like some kind of stupid fucking Shi'ar tech drive
Hold on,
where he
wait,
can just
wait.
like
You
save
got
state
Jean
them.
Grey's soul in there?
It's got everybody's soul in there.
No, gingers
Saved-
don't have souls, guys.
Saved. But
Sorry.
saved on a hard drive.
It's saved on some bullshit alien tech hard drive so that when they die, he can just re-upload them into a new body.
It's so stupid.
It's on a USB. They gave him a fucking USB. with all the
USB
mutant
helmet.
souls.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, the idea with like them killing Charles Xavier is like, oh my god, what are we gonna do?
You can't kill Charles Xavier.
Well, here's the thing.
Dude, he
They-
would explode your mind.
Well, they did it. He died, but then they brought him back with the same technique that he would have had to have used on other people, which I'm assuming, if I go back and read that, it's probably Jean Grey that wears the helmet for like a hot second to bring Charles
She's a
back.
ginger and she doesn't have a soul.
Oh, vampire jokes. She should be burning.
No,
Like-
it's a South Park thing, wasn't it?
I mean, that's just been a running joke that South Park took.
Oh.
But yeah, it's bad.
I was just
It-
kidding. I know
it-
lots of great gingers and they have souls.
You don't have to lie.
Gingers
We know. We know they don't have souls. It's fine.
There's some awesome gingers
It's
out
fine.
there.
They know they don't have
Talking to
souls. It's okay.
Talking
It's
to you,
okay.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad, it's stupid, it's dumb, and I keep reading it to see when it all comes crashing all the fucking way down.
Obviously. But I mean, it's already crashed pretty hard. I don't know what you're waiting for. I think
Yeah.
you're just a masochist and you like seeing.
It's already a fucking circus, man. The magic is gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You might as well just go back in the day and pull out some of them old motherfucking issues and talk about those. I mean, that's the real shit. That was the golden age, man.
I mean,
Nothing was fucking with X-Men, man.
right? They were the A team,
Yeah.
but now they're all separatist, segregationist weirdos that, and I shit you not.
That's what our country has turned into.
Yeah, we're trying to separate, and these books are reflecting that, and it's bad. It's really fucking bad.
There's a lot of things that are really bad in media right now, and in the world right now. Let's have a moment of silence.
I don't think we need to get that deep on a comic book podcast. Just gotta be real.
But yeah, that's what I've been reading.
Anything else? Gotten into anything else? Watched anything else? Read anything else?
What the?
No, you just
No.
gave up on life and
Look,
Got
if
bored.
this shit keeps up, I'm just gonna go full weeb and just be all in on like Japan.
yeah. How about you, Cornell?
Oh,
Been
shit,
in-
I've been watching that new Mandalorian shit. I mean, I
The
was
Baby
really-
Yoda.
I mean, the Baby Yoda is a part of the shit, but it's really not the big thing. What I really like about it, Mandalorian is excellent. I didn't think it was gonna be shit. I was like, oh, they made a fucking mini series about Boba Fett. It's probably gonna be stupid like Solo, and Solo wasn't that stupid for real. Okay, but I mean, all right, it was. Pretty,
It's all right. It was all right. It was pretty stupid.
But I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't a horrible production. I mean,
They tried.
yeah, I mean,
They
there's
tried.
always something you can do better, right? But this Mandalorian shit, they just fucking give so much insight into this fucking culture of this fucking. It's not a race. It's more of like a sect, you know. And they have their own rules and their own lingo, and they did a really good job. And they also did. They have these fucking space trailers and shit. or like the inside of the Mandalorian spaceship. Like, dude, I would have a fucking house. If I had $1 million fucking dollars, I would fucking have a house built that looked like the fucking ship of the Mandalorian. And I walk around in that motherfucker, and I look out the windows and shit. I would turn on the motherfucking jet engines and shit.
You just have a bunch of screens that whenever you fucking feel like it, you can just press the hyperspace button and pew.
All the screens in the fucking house.
It's just like
it would be a motherfucking thing where there's the walls have fucking, I don't know, 2-way mirrors or some shit on them.
Yeah.
And wherever you at in the motherfucking place, you could just fucking reorient yourself and shit. That'd be some crazy shit. That'd be money.
It would be too much money, but
Maybe
that
just
would
in
be
the fucking bathtub.
that would be really fucking cool.
Some dope ass shit. You in the bathtub and shit.
I just like the idea of
With Emma
if
Frost.
somebody pisses you off, you just jettison them into the vacuum of space. Just,
There you go. Like, just stand right there.
yeah.
Right to the left. Right there. Boom.
Ejectocito, cuz.
Right.
Gone.
And they end up on the island of Krakatoa.
I was going to correct you on the pronunciation of the name of the island, but
So
fuck that
blasted.
island. I don't care. It's so goddamn
You're
stupid.
such a fucking nerd.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Oh, I'm a fucking nerd. Please tell me, how is Tom King's Batman doing?
You know, it's fine.
I'm sure it is.
There have been better days, sure.
A big ass bag of Doritos.
It's depressing, as you'd expect from Tom King. Everything is depressing and convoluted, but you know, it's fine. It's fine.
Is he still letting Catwoman be his mommy wife?
It's, time to time. It's more of an occasional thing now. You
I
know,
don't know nothing about that.
side mommy. I haven't been caught up quite as much on the current run of Batman and whatnot. But what I have been catching up on, because I'm a huge fan of Stepan Sajic, is the new DC Black Label Harleen books. So I got through the first one. I'm about halfway through the second one. Now, the big thing about these titles is that they're large books. I mean, they're like almost 70 pages, I'd guess.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out The
Yeah.
Question, you should definitely check out that book.
Yeah, and DC started this whole thing.
What is it, graphic novel?
I think so far it's if it is an ongoing series, the first issue of The Question was like 50 pages.
Yeah, they're big bucks. So basically, the whole idea behind what DC's doing right now is they got 3 labels. They got like a kids label, they got their mainstream label, and then they got what they call DC Black Label, which is an adult-themed, adult-oriented, adult-targeted audience.
Hentai?
And not quite. No.
Practically need to
No.
carry that book
We're
out
not
in a
talking
paper
about
bag.
Dynamite here, all right? So that's Dynamite's a totally different thing. American, yeah, I guess. Do you like Deja Thoris and Red Sonja and Betty Page and
It's the prime time when it
Barbarella.
comes to bikini armor.
yeah?
Huh?
It's at the prime real estate of bikini armor comics.
Yeah. If you like floss armor, they're the company you go to. But no,
Chainmail.
it's more about the themes of the books as far as the DC Black Label books go. There've been several of them. Like Batman Damned was probably the most notable first early one.
Oh, you mean Batman dicks out for Harambe?
Yeah, it's it got famous before it was even released because reviewers leaked that they had the first full exposed shot of Bruce Wayne's cock and balls. And then basically what comic book vendors started doing is jacking up the price to like literally 60.
Jacking?
Yeah. He caught it. They jacked up the price to about $60 a book before it was even released because they knew it was going to be
Don't
collectible.
tell me. They jacked it and it exploded.
It really did explode. Yep. And then DC realized what they were doing and they censored it. And so it made the price go up even further, which is the explosion you're talking about.
Did you see that fucking?
So
Did you see that fucking Stephen Yang thing? Where he
You-
fucking
Andrew Yang.
I was like Andrew Yang. That dude.
Like he's already gotten a different name once by someone.
He
Like,
fucking put the whipped cream in the.
Oh, you're talking about the New Hampshire opening business tradition that
Yeah,
they do.
My bad, though. Let's get back. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting, and it's really bad. I apologize, everyone.
Yang Gang.
Yang Gang.
Yeah.
Yang 2020.
Yep, that's me and Emery. I don't know if you're on board, but we're
I
on board.
really like it so far. I mean, I haven't really watched the debates and shit because I do mostly streaming, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, he sounds good. He has the data. Humanity first. I mean, that's pretty good to me.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I'm humanity.
Right. This is well,
So-
as you should.
And I'm a rational type, so like I make decisions using logic. So it's good that he has data.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if the math doesn't add up, then
Fuck it.
yeah, like if your math doesn't add up, what the fuck are you doing?
Right. Where you going?
But back to the topic at hand. Basically, comic book vendors saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. So they made the original print of it super high price before it even came out, and basically it was all sold out before anybody could even read it.
Like
Uh,
fucking $60.
Wall
Yeah.
Street stock investors.
Yes.
Black Friday.
Now, to be fair, comic books aren't the hardest margin product in the world, so I get it. You got to make a living, but that was kind of fucked up.
Oh,
They didn't
yeah.
even give you a chance to try to get the book before they jacked the price up. You
They
know?
was living too large. Bro.
Yeah. But you can still kind of find the book online and everything like that without the censored image in it. But yeah, you get to see how big
have to pay.
Batman's dick is.
Hold on, wait. You have to pay to see the censored image.
I mean, you can pirate it, I guess, but whatever. It's a comic book. Yeah, you should pay for it.
I'm surprised they
Of
don't have
course,
it
of
on.
course. But they say we have the comic online, but we took this part out because this is what we're making our money off. This is our money shot. Why the fuck is everything in comic books go back to a money shot? We got gold balls. We got
Gold balls.
Batman's dick.
Gold
What the
balls.
fuck?
Gold balls is literally a human being.
Oh my god!
But yeah, it was a whole thing. But the theme of the book was more adult. It was about kind of Batman's descent into madness after somebody, it's kind of a mystery throughout the book. Somebody killed the Joker.
Yeah.
You don't know who, you don't know the context. Constantine gets involved, Deadman gets involved. There's a lot of supernatural elements. It was weird.
Oh yeah.
It
that
had a
was
really
weird
cool
top to
art
bottom.
style. It had really cool, writing. But the story, I don't know if it totally made sense.
No, what was weird about it exactly?
I mean, there's moments in the book where Harley Quinn basically tries to rape him, and
Batman?
yeah,
Why?
I don't know.
'Cause she
There's-
For
hated him
funsies?
first.
There's no explanation.
Probably because people just wanted to see that.
And there's like weird spots where the demon is basically an underground rapper.
Yeah.
It's-
Like all rappers.
It gets real weird.
Yeah, I mean, this is an.
Now, what demon
yeah.
is this? I didn't know that it had fucking.
I mean, it's not Etrigan. I can tell you straight up.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's Etrigan, but it's Etrigan. It is.
It's Etrigan?
He's a rapper.
No.
He's an underground rapper in that book.
Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. He's always
Like,
had
he has
bars.
horns and shit?
No, he's just a guy. He's just a guy
a
who
demon.
happens to have supernatural powers.
He's a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one of the things with
There's
Etrigan
demons
is
in
that
Batman now.
I mean, there's
It's-
demons in the DC
It's
universe.
expanded DC
Yeah.
world, yeah.
It's
Oh,
like
okay.
the-
So they like crossed over into their realm.
Yeah, it used to be
Yeah.
Vertigo, and then it got
kind of
man.
meshed
Brought
them in
into
because we
DC.
really like
They
Constantine.
down so much.
yeah. DC
Yeah.
killed Vertigo, so now really the only Vertigo you get is from DC books, and it's mostly the Black Label stuff that you get it because Vertigo was known for being more adult oriented,
Yeah.
but owned by DC.
It was kind of like a mixture between like Dark Horse and that one with Exo Man of War. What the fuck was that?
Valiant.
Valiant, yeah,
I,
it's-
I would say Vertigo was somewhere right.
Yeah,
it's-
it's somewhere
I'd say
between
that's
those two,
accurate.
yeah.
That's fairly accurate. But yeah, it was a weird book, but that was what kind of got the ball rolling for more adult themed and adult oriented books. And that book also was one of the first that had a huge page limit. It was like 70 pages, 60 something pages for each book. And there was only 3 books, so it goes by real quick, but it tells a complete story and everything. But
Yeah.
it's kind of a refreshing way to read comics because now you're actually getting quite a bit of content. Now you do pay a higher price for it. It's not like you're paying $3 for a book or something like that. You're paying, $6, $7, $8.
Yeah.
But it's worth it in my opinion. And the
Fuck
artwork,
inflation, I mean,
yeah, and I mean they're giving them time to work on it, so it's not like it's a thing that's getting rushed out every week.
That's good.
They come out
Right.
as they come out, so they seem to be finished products. And Stepan Sajic got offered a project that he pitched, focusing on Harley Quinn character. and kind of her retelling of her origins. And I love Stepan Sajic because he's one of my favorite comic book artists, period. You know, he's kind of famous for his kind of smuttier material with
Sunstone
and, you know, Rat Girls and stuff like that. But he has one of my favorite runs on Aquaman of all books. You wouldn't think it, but no, he has such a great art style. It's very expressive. Like he makes character interactions work on, you know, single 2D images so well, so much better than any other artist I've ever seen.
I love his passion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
His passion is real.
I love Stepan Sajic's work. It's so good. As a writer, I like how he sets up dialogue. It's more human. It's not like arbitrary and kind of forced like a lot of writers tend to do.
Right.
You know,
He
but
keeps it real.
yeah, in this book, it's very dialogue heavy. It's very character driven. It's
That's how it should be.
yeah, it's kind of refreshing. It's not like every page is, you know, Batman punching somebody and somebody getting blown up and whatever else, and
The
a big,
rainbow effect.
you know, there's not a
Yeah.
big plot twist every 10 seconds or something like that. You know, oh, Bane was behind it all. You know, that sort of thing. It's more of a, you know, a human story, a personal story, and it's
get
done
back to
by
that.
an artist and a writer that's very expressive, very passionate about what he does. And I
That's what
really,
made comics great.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might find it slow. You might find it a little boring.
Those
So
people are slow
I don't.
and boring.
It's fair. I don't know if it's for everybody, but if you're
Nothing
looking
is.
for a good character-driven, well-drawn
Everybody.
project, a really creative new project, and a new way to look at the Harleen Quinzel character, it's really refreshing. It's really good. It's pretty human. I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's human. It seems like somebody that would really exist. It doesn't seem like somebody that's just an out of this world crazy chick, you know, like the movies tend to depict. But it's really good. I highly recommend it so far.
Can we somehow get him to completely rewrite the Birds of Prey movie that's coming out?
I don't know how he would do as a TV movie writer, but he does damn good work as a comic book writer.
I'm just excited about hearing about actually a good comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also not having Harley Quinn being turned into this fucking
Yeah.
slutty Halloween costume perpetually.
Well, if you want to see a really cool retelling of Harley Quinn in a way, not retelling, but more of a different portrayal of Harley Quinn and the Harley Quinn character, you should check out Batman White Knight.
Oh yeah.
There's 2 seasons of it basically, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
It
right
was
now
our favorite
it's,
book of the
going
year
through,
a couple years ago.
Yeah, Batman Curse of the White Knight is the sequel miniseries that's out right now. But yeah, if you want,
I won't spoil it for you, but there's some surprising things about the Harley Quinn character that's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you
I
want
mean,
like
they've
a
done
far
lot of
more,
things with Harley Quinn.
a far more down to earth version of that character, a far more honest version of that character.
Yeah, and it's cool how they kind of flip the script a little bit about halfway through. It's really interesting. It's
Oh
really cool.
yeah.
You know something else about Harley Quinn, okay? Japan has been doing adult comic books successfully and without any cultural fuzz, okay, for a long time, right?
Yeah.
America's just behind on that shit. I don't know if it's the Puritan roots or just like
Maybe I think
bad
it's.
technology like Honda and GM. Or
I think it's more about the mainstream.
Yeah.
Because if you read like companies like Image, we always love Image. Like they've kind of had a weak year this year, I would say. But overall, Image has always been the go-to if you want like more character-driven, hard-hitting, you know, honest storytelling.
yeah.
That's not kept behind a filter of corporate America where you got to be careful. You don't want to offend too many
Yeah,
people.
you gotta
or
be
poke,
safe.
You don't want to poke too many bears because
Yeah.
it might become a problem.
comic books ain't supposed to be safe. They're supposed to be dangerous.
They're supposed to be daring.
Yeah, and Image is that.
Bold and
I think Image does an awesome job doing that. And I think to their credit, they do a lot of licensed material, but the stuff outside of the licensed material, I think IDW does a good job too, in my
Yeah.
personal opinion. You know,
Yeah.
I guess you can give
I will-
Black Horse some credit too.
Yeah.
Is it Black Horse?
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dark Horse. Their
look,
logo is a black horse. I don't know why. My brain misfired.
Look,
Yeah.
as long as you didn't confuse them with Top Cow, you should be fine.
Oh,
Top Cow, please.
Cow. Wow.
The
I remember
Marvel.
those.
The Marvel beloved beast.
Yeah, the
Isn't that
Image
Sylvester?
Comics. Yeah, Mark Silvestri, the Fathom and Tomb Raider and all those other comics that were.
So anyway, just back to the main point of this. Harleen, really good book so far. If you're into a character-driven, heavy dialogue book, don't go into it thinking it's going to be a big action flick and you're just going to pop through it real quick and have a good time. It's it's very intense, very character-driven, very deep. Expressive character work, expressive art, expressive writing, human writing, I would say, more than anything. So I recommend it for anybody who thinks that might speak to them. If you're going in there looking for the kind of late, kind of smutty Harley Quinn going around talking with her, Brooklyn accent and playing patty cake with criminals, you're probably not gonna want to see this. But if you want a more intelligent take on the Harley Quinn character, I highly recommend it.
That's cool, and I think people really do want that, man. They don't want that fucking.
Yeah, we're tired of the bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is.
Give us some real shit.
That's the Rambo effect. Again.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I've been watching the first 2 episodes of the Witcher series that just premiered on Netflix.
I heard about that.
So I am very, very deep into the Witcher lore. I've read all the books. I love all the books. I've played most of the games.
Yeah, the Sapkowski.
Yeah, Andrzej Sapkowski. He's basically the pride of Poland. Fun fact for you, when Obama went to Poland for the first time, they actually gave him a copy of the first book.
Really?
That was his welcome gift, yeah.
Wow.
Because they're so proud of it.
This is what Poland is doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's great. It's
Cool.
really cool, great writing. If you like kind of fantasy mantras and you're into some badass storytelling surrounding several very intriguing, cool, complex characters that aren't perfect, there's nobody is necessarily a good guy in any of these situations. And that's what I think Sapkowski tries to illustrate through all of these books. It's not necessarily good or evil. It's kind of a lesser of the two, or try to walk down the middle if you can. Which one are you going to choose? It's really interesting. It's really fun.
It's kind of how the game is.
Yeah, there's 3 books that are basically collections of short stories giving you kind of the background of all of these characters, and then there's 5 books that are the actual novelization talking about the main story you wanted to tell. And I personally think the short stories are way better because it's more interesting. It's more, I don't know, it's a little bit more lore heavy, whereas the novel books are just kind of, Ciri, she's fine as a character, but she's not the most interesting character to me. Like, I feel like several of the side characters and Geralt himself are way more interesting. And unfortunately, the novelization books, they kind of focused almost exclusively on Ciri, which kind of stinks.
Yeah.
And it's not that she's a terrible character. It's just that it's weird.
I mean,
and there's some things going on that you're like, I don't know if an old male can really understand how this young, teenage female is feeling in this context. I don't know.
It's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah. It's good writing, though. It's fun. Great books. But the show premiered starring Henry Cavill, and, he doesn't have the mustache, thankfully. This is how he's earning money now that he's not Superman, even though they keep trying.
I mean, he says he hasn't hung up the cape yet.
He says that, but if anybody saw the ending of Shazam, I think otherwise.
Oh, there's more to talk about on that.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I got mixed feelings about it. I think if you watch the show thinking that this is going to be the perfect entry point into the Witcher series for you, you're probably going to struggle, especially if you don't have somebody there to kind of keep you informed of the lore and keep things straight. Because they basically take a bunch of backstories for these characters and shotgun them at your face, and you don't really know that they're happening literally hundreds of years apart because they don't tell you. And so I'm worried that they're just going to fuck this up because it's so convoluted. Again, it's 8 episodes long. I'm only 2 episodes in. I'm worried that the directors are kind of screwing things up, and it's really jarring, and you can tell that there's different directors on each episode because the first episode is filmed almost exactly like the first Thor was, where you have those really wonky sideways camera angles for every shot.
Dutch angles.
Yeah. They're
no.
awful. They're awful. They're awful, and they take you out of the experience almost immediately. I'm not professional director by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just so jarring. It's worse than shaky cam because it just looks bad, and it makes it like you can see every imperfection in their costumes because you're looking up their crotch, and it's just it just doesn't make sense the way it was filmed.
Can I take a moment aside? So what do you think the core appeal is for Witcher? I mean, I played Witcher 3 for a little while. I wasn't feeling it too much. I think I ended up selling it back. But
had you read any of the books or anything?
No.
Okay.
So
you were
like
starting like pretty late. You were starting.
Yeah.
You're literally starting on like a
I dipped
fan
my feet in the water.
fiction third story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Got
really,
out.
Yeah.
Then
So-
went to eat some fucking
Yeah, I think
pineapple daiquiri, whatever.
I think if you play Witcher 3 and that's your only experience with The Witcher, it's a lot of side quests. It's really convoluted. There's a lot of distractions going
Slow.
on.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot
really-
of history that's given like 1 or 2 lines at the very beginning of
You're
the
not
game.
going to know what's going on. That's just the honest fact. Even if you played all 3 games, you might be familiar with the characters a little more, but you
Right.
still don't really know the lore unless you like look through every one of those little books that they have laying around and you
what
read
do
them
you
all.
take from it? Like, what is the core appeal?
It's just great character storytelling in the books specifically. Now,
Okay.
the games do a great job of telling character stories. The downside to the games is that if you don't know the lore of the books, you might be
is he?
you might be a little lost. He's
Yeah, it's like the games.
this is something that the
basically-
books covers, but the Witcher himself,
Yeah.
Witchers in general, they're basically kids that were kidnapped or taken or orphaned or whatever else. Some way, somehow, they found their way to their base called Kaer Morhen, which is their kind of fortress for the traditional Witchers. And Witchers were created by different human sects and sorcerers to try to counter all of the monsters that were
Monsters, right.
appearing around the world. They have this event in the far away past called the Convergence of signs and whatnot, where what they call chaos, which is just magic, is released on the world and open to everybody.
Right.
But the downside to this is it brought monsters and demons and beasts and all sorts of different specters and creatures into the world, and there really wasn't a counter to them.
How was that?
It's the Convergence of the Spheres is really
It's some deep shit.
arbitrary. Yeah, you really got to.
All right. all right.
They don't really spell it out for you. You kind of got to pick up in context clues. It's
Really?
yeah. It's like it's literally thousands of years ago. So
Yeah.
you're talking
That-
ancient history, and
Yeah.
nobody really knows. But this is
So,
the world we
but
live
why
in.
is it cool though?
Because everything's about a character-driven storyline about this one of the few last people of his kind, this artificially created, basically beast hunter. He was created for the sole purpose of eradicating, monsters and
Monsters,
demons,
yeah.
and basically living in perpetual poverty and having no chance at a life. I don't want to spoil things in case you do get into it, because there's big storylines and plot points that you learn about the
Is there
character.
another X-Men reference in here?
You could, there's
maybe.
there's
Uh,
a lot of
he's explaining like living in poverty.
Yeah, there's a lot
fighting
of-
demons and,
yeah, there's a lot of marginalized peoples in these books, whether it's the gnomes, the dwarves, the elves, whatever. They're all facing their own struggles, and a lot of them are at the hands of the mainstream humans. And
the
Yeah.
Empire, Skyrim.
well, it's not really an empire. It's like multiple empires that are always fighting with each other, and the regular everyday people are getting caught in the crossfires.
Skyrim.
And again, the main theme of The Witcher is that nobody is necessarily good.
Right.
Everybody's kind of an asshole.
They're all anti-heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in real
it's
life,
like
right?
the world is fucked up, and you better hope you're a little fucked up, otherwise you might not survive.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too
That
deep
sounds
in.
that sounds like life in the city. Man.
Yeah. I don't want to get too deep into it because I really want people that are interested to go read the books. And there's 3 collections of short stories that I highly recommend you read first, and then you can read the novels in order.
He has a 5-step plan for you if you want to get into Witcher. And I would
Yeah.
trust his
I
plan
mean,
because his
there's
passion
literally-
is there. I
There's
mean,
literally wikis and stuff that you can look up real quick, and it tells you what order to read everything in, to be chronologically in order, because the short stories all come first, even though they were released intermittently. Because he actually started writing these stories for a newspaper when he was younger, and then
Wow.
people started collecting the short stories because they liked them so much, and then he
Wow,
put
a
them in
Polish
book.
newspaper.
Yeah, and then he put them in
Wow.
book
Can you
collections,
imagine that?
and that's how the
I imagine Polish people probably are still in with their lore.
yeah,
like
and so he actually
Germany or
started
something
creating.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He started writing novels for his fans of the short stories, and so some of the novels actually come out before the short stories do in publication, even though the short stories were obviously written first for the newspapers.
Right.
So you got to read them in specific orders. You can't just go by the publishing date.
So this is some deep shit.
Yeah, but it's worth it. In my opinion, it's really worth it. It's really cool. The character, I mean, it's very adult themed. You know, it's not like kids playing around. You know, everything's perfect in the end because Disney says so. You know, it's not that sort of story. People are gonna get
Good.
fucked up. You know, shit's not gonna work out. People you love are gonna betray you.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So, I think it's really excellent. Really excellent. Unfortunately, the
Great
show.
explanation.
I don't think the show is quite as excellent. And I think it's because they're trying to do so much so quick. And it's clear that there's a little bit of budget constraints. And I think they're expecting a lot of the fans that are watching to actually have already been familiarized with a lot of the lore.
It always fucking
Yeah.
up when it hits the screen, man.
Because, I
Yeah,
mean,
a lot of assumptions are made.
yeah, I mean, literally the second
They
episode.
need better managers on these fucking movie shits, man.
And
Movies, shows,
Yeah.
anything on the screen, they need better managers.
Yeah.
It's like
Or stronger
people
teams.
people who care a little bit more about representing it properly and a little bit less about I don't know, the budget, the money. Where's the
Yeah.
money coming in?
Now, to be fair, Netflix has been shelling out money to everybody because they're trying to compete with Disney Plus now, and they're worried because they just lost all of their Disney content,
Netflix
including
is
the
not
Marvel
fucking with
shows
Disney
and all that
Plus.
stuff.
There's
That
no way.
yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Netflix and everything. I think it has a future and everything. But I mean, they needed to get some real big superstars in their fucking team.
I
If
don't
they
know.
want to compete with the likes of Disney. You see this fucking
I don't know.
Mandalorian shit? This shit looks like fucking
I
art
think-
house photography, bro.
Yeah.
Every fucking frame, man. I want one of those fucking space trailers out in the middle of the motherfucking dust. It's like high tech but low tech at the same time. It's almost like you walk into a Hansel and Gretel house made of aluminum.
yeah. So I don't know.
I have to watch that.
I-
I'll have to watch both of these shows because
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little behind
Yeah.
in the times right now.
Well,
Yeah,
I didn't
I'll-
see the new Star Wars, so we all behind on something, right?
We got opinions, but
But at least you've seen.
we'll save that for the review. There's
Don't.
so back to The Witcher. Just if you're interested, I would ask that you don't start with the show. Just from my experience with the first 2 episodes, because you're gonna be completely lost, in my opinion. I don't think you're gonna understand the context of everything. They basically give you the lore and like quick dialogue hits, and it's gone like that. And if you didn't catch it, you didn't catch it, and you're gonna have no idea why they're doing this or what's going on, why these nations are at war, and why this character is acting like this towards this character, and who is this in this context. I mean, the second episode is literally an entire backstory for a character that's like literally hundreds of years in the past, and you have no idea. Unless you know the lore, because they don't tell you in the entire episode, Meanwhile, and it's skipping between different stories. Like in the books, these would be independent stories that you'd read one after the other. In the show, they're trying to do like 3 stories per episode, but so you're hopping from one story to the other, and none of them are during the same time periods. They're all different time periods. So it's really weird how they're doing it, and I think it's really incoherent. However, I think the actors are doing awesome. I think Cavill is doing an amazing job. I think he's doing Geralt very well, surprisingly. Yeah, I thought he was going to be a little too pretty for the character because the character is supposed to be kind of war-torn and torn up. And they do give him some scarring and stuff like that, but it's like,
It's
he's
like the acceptable scarring for Hollywood.
We can't deny he's a pretty dude with a big, very bold chin. His very striking face. You're probably not going to be able.
That dude, man.
You're not going to be able. You're not going to be able to.
About this shit. I didn't even know his fucking name because I'm like, I don't like him as Superman. I don't like him. Period. Fuck
Yeah, I mean, I like him in a lot of movies.
him.
Like
Is really harsh on Henry Cavill.
he has a
Maybe I'm jealous.
he has a spy movie based on a comic book. It's like Friends from Uncle or something like that. I forget what it's
The
called.
Man from Uncle.
Man from Uncle. Thank you. He's really good in that movie. I really like that movie.
He was also in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
is the guy who like cocks his fists before he punches.
Yeah, I stopped. I stopped watching
Oh, yeah,
Mission Impossible for like.
he was all right in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does a great job. The other actors and actresses do a great job. So really, the acting is not the problem. I think it's more the direction and the way they're telling these stories. If each episode was like one of these short stories that kind of explain the character, like, oh, this is your introduction to Geralt and how he got the name, Geralt of Rivia, and this is the story of why he's called the Butcher of Blaviken, and then you go to the second episode and it introduces, Yennefer. It's like, all right, this is the background story for Yennefer, and this is why she is the way she is, and this is why, this is how the sorceresses work. Sorceresses? Something like that. But how they work and how they kind of rival with male sorcerers, and now there's this weird dichotomy between them and the royal families for all of these different nations, and yeah, and if they focused it would be really good, but they don't focus on anything. They introduce Dandelion, and he's almost like a throwaway character because the Yennefer portion is taking up like the entire episode, and as it should, because it's the most character driven of the episodes. But if I don't even think they say Dandelion's name. I think he's just some bard. But I don't know. Which is sad because he's like the best character in the series. So.
He is, hands down. He's so much fun to read.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that you read the books, or at least dip your foot in the games so you can kind of get the lore before you watch the show, because it does not explain. It does not hold your hand at all. And like I said, the direction from episode 1 to episode 2. Episode 2 was much better as far as the director goes. Like, camera shots were very clear, concise, told the story well. Characters were in the right spot, saying the right things, delivering the lines the way you'd expect in the situation at hand. First episode, not as much. Like, the characters were kind of weirdly placed and were delivering the lines very awkwardly, and the camera angles were all wonky and didn't make sense, and there's kind of some bad costume work going on. So, yeah, first episode's kind of rough. Second episode, much, much better. But again, you're going to be lost if you have no idea what's going on.
Looking forward to seeing what you think several more episodes in.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the series because I love the Witcher series, and they've already announced they're doing a second season. So, we'll see what happens. But it's
already doing well.
It was a rough start. And it's getting kind of mixed reviews, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
I think we all just kind of like fell into this well of passion that he has for Witcher. It was just like this fucking vortex and shit. His explanation was just like so fucking intense.
Yeah, I love the Witcher series.
That's a good thing, though, man. It was a great explanation, man.
I'm a fucking nerd.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of this.
Yeah,
the passion was there. That's what's up, man. That's good shit.
Yeah.
How he feels for The Witcher, I feel for a similar character that doesn't get nearly as much play. Elric of Melniboné.
Mm-hmm. Where was that from?
Is
that from Witcher?
No,
it's a comic book series.
It's a comic book series that was also a series of stories that were also told like originally as publications in a newspaper. There's a lot of similarities between the two of them both being, albino spell swords, having to deal with killing fantastical creatures, being like something akin or close to bounty hunter.
Albino spell swords.
Yeah, spell swords.
Spell swords.
Yes,
Wow.
as in like they're swordsmen that cast magic.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow. There's some similarities, some differences. Personally, I like Elric better just because he's so much like his origin is so much more deeply entrenched in just being the worst fucking person imaginable.
Really?
He starts out as a philosopher king for a race of people that have given all the way into hedonism and have relegated themselves to one island because they're too powerful and too pure to deal with the outside savages The Outside Savages being more akin to the kind of characters that you read in maybe a Conan comic book.
That's some medieval shit.
Oh, pretty medieval. There's a lot of treachery, epic magic, being a dragon rider.
Riding dragon?
Yeah. Also, because of his nature as an albino, he, in contrast to his people, he was also fairly weak and thus was maintained on potions that originally were just derived from the blood of willing sacrifices.
Willing.
Yeah, he had to get into herbalism the minute he was exiled from his own kingdom.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, he's a bastard. He's a he tries to be better, but he very often slips back into being just the worst.
Really?
Yeah. But that's just the beginning of his tale.
Wow.
Yeah. There are bande dessinée or French comics that have been translated into English that you can pick up. I think those are published by Titan, if you're interested in looking into any of those. The artwork is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the storytelling is superb. And I have never been...
Nice delivery there.
Yeah, I have never been more interested in a story where a long-haired albino weirdo is trying to survive while listening to a sword enchanted by a god that keeps telling him to kill people or it's going to kill him next.
Sounds like Michael Jackson's story on Oxygen.
I was
These
going to say
analogies coming out today, man. There's some suspect analogies happening.
Long-haired albino weirdo.
And he does bad
God damn
things,
it.
but he tries to be a better man. The man in the mirror.
Oh my god.
I'm asking him to change his ways.
Woo! When I was reading it, I never thought of Michael Jackson. But now that you said it, it's like there are some definite things that differentiate this character from him, but the basic albino who... Story of an albino man who's trying to, keep himself alive.
I don't have a problem with the story of an evil Michael Jackson. I mean, I don't think nobody's ever done that before.
An evil Michael Jackson.
Like, what the fuck
Okay,
would he do?
here's the thing that a lot of people are
magic.
afraid of is...
Because he already knows magic. You know Michael Jackson knew magic and shit, right?
Oh,
You can't get on the stage and do shit like that if you don't know magic, right?
What we're afraid of is coming to the realization is that the story of an evil Michael Jackson is just the story of Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
That is the honest concern.
if you make it fantastical where he actually has real magic and all that shit and he's moonwalking and all that, I don't know. An evil Michael Jackson might have some motherfucking might have some fucking legs. You know what I mean?
Want to watch some porn in my basement, little boy?
No, that's terrible.
Hey, man. It allegedly happened.
I don't think he did it.
I don't think he did it because the courts keep laughing that case out of the courtroom because there's little to no evidence.
Because he paid settlements in every single case.
Oh, that's the difference between the civil case versus the criminal.
I wonder.
Is you can
out
go
here
back and look at what's been filed.
All right, let me put it this way. Why is a middle-aged man inviting little children to his house for sleepovers, independent of any of his own children?
I will counter that with
X-Men, anybody?
why are
Batman.
these adults allowing their children
Because
to
they're seeking a lawsuit. And Michael Jackson is giving it to them.
Man, Like fucking Captain Ahab with the fucking harpoon. Sinking it.
Because they're terrible fucking parents. That's why.
Yes, these are terrible.
It's a collaboration of a lot of motherfuckers.
Yeah,
I mean,
is it people
this
being
is rich
terrible?
people logic, though. You can't. We cannot understand rich people.
I mean, we
logic.
look at the fucking Epstein cases and stuff. Like, you know.
So did you see how fucking,
You wonder how deep that
Weinstein got
goes?
off, bro? You see how Weinstein got off?
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I want to know.
His fucking insurance company paid for all the motherfucking fees that he paid all these people off with. Einstein's a fucking boss. I mean, I said Einstein. Weinstein's a fucking boss, bro.
Yeah, he definitely insured himself.
He's a crime boss, okay, but he's a boss. You know what I'm saying? He's an evil boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a fucking kingpin.
It hurts.
You know, magic exists, kids. And it's called money.
It's called money. You can make anything happen. You can make shit disappear.
Yeah.
You just
make shit appear.
just reach the right number, and all of your dreams will come true.
Yeah, you don't even need a fucking cauldron
Yeah, no.
or a wand or anything.
On an especially dark episode of Hit the Books podcast.
We've embraced the darkness.
Pretty cool though.
And with that, let's get into the news. First up on the news, we got the new Wonder Woman 1984 trailer, which is due out June 5th, 2020. Did you guys see it?
Saw the trailer, and I wonder what war they're going to completely deny this time.
Yeah. Well, there shouldn't be any war because, as we know from the first movie, war never happened again.
Like, I get it. Once Wonder Woman shows up, people kind of don't want to go to war, but
Oh yeah,
denying World
we're
War
not
II,
Nazis anymore.
denying World
So
War
nice.
II is that's a bridge too far.
It's a bold move.
I wanted world domination, but she's fine.
Now, to be fair,
That
we
goes
both.
fine.
I think we can both agree we like the movie for 2 acts of it.
Yep.
For 2 acts, that was a 9 or 8 movie. And then
Yeah.
the last act was just dumb.
The last act destroys the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
She was fine in that movie too.
Yeah.
She had a
The
nice thing
co-
about it.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Costume was on point. Representation of the character was on point.
She was a little feisty too, though. She wasn't like no fucking plastic, 2-dimensional ass bitch. Like,
Well,
could
my
like-
problem was that every single other Amazon woman was a fucking badass, and she was not.
Right. That will always be the problem, is that
Like, they were
every
all
other
jacked.
Amazonian
They were
looks
all
way more like
jacked.
they should be
They
Wonder
were
Woman.
all playing badasses, but she
you
was
know
just
what,
like,
though?
oh, I like
she's
peace
like
and
the bitch that
innocence.
made it out the hood, though. Everybody from the hood gotta be harder than her. You know what I mean, she's the refined one and shit. She's from the hood and shit, but she's like,
I mean, according
her
to this
makeup's
lore,
nicer.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
according to this lore, she's
It's
like
like
hundreds
she-
of years old, so she's been in the hood for a while.
Yeah, she's gifted by the gods.
there you go. There
She
you go.
doesn't need to be jacked. The world has to conform to her. She has not met a
Sure.
challenge yet.
Why
She's
not?
like that motherfucking criminal leader who, like, there's these other like 6'8" guys standing around, but like he's not afraid of any of them and shit.
It's like, if they're afraid of him, what the
What
fuck?
the fuck? Exactly.
Okay, by that reasoning, I can kind of understand
It's like
Wonder
Tom
Woman.
Cruise in every movie he's ever been in. Like 5'6". Hey,
You know,
fear
but
me.
The last boss always had, because there's last boss in video games and movies, all this shit.
Yeah.
He's always a regular looking dude, right? But he has these bodyguards that are always fucking huge, like Rocksteady and Bebop type shit, right?
Yeah, and then the final boss, who doesn't look that big, pulls out some fucking wild shit.
Yeah, like he
Yeah,
lets loose
I
a
love the
fucking tiger or
CG
something,
jacked
like-
body from the flashback too, with the bowler hat and the mustache.
Oh no!
It was so
missed that.
stupid. The main villain's the British guy, and spoiler alert for a movie that's like 3 years old now. But
Yeah, the guy who was hiding in the midst of the British intelligence turns out that he was actually the Greco-Roman god War. And he, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to keep that stupid fucking mustache.
yeah, so so the British look wasn't a guy's. That's how he looked in ancient Greece too, with a perfectly trimmed mustache and just jacked.
A fucking round
Because
burger.
we're not
Yeah.
shaving David Thewlis.
It was
We're not shaving him.
it was so weird. It was just
Mustaches are weird.
it didn't hurt the movie, but it was just
Her
weird.
mustache is weird. Like, think about Hitler's mustache, and you got porn mustaches. You got fucking Joe Dirt mustaches.
Yeah. You got Ron
I'm-
Swanson mustaches though, and those kind of redeem everything.
We're still trying
Ron
to
Swanson?
Yeah, from Parks and Rec.
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Parks and Rec is basically a different kind of like The Office type show.
The Office, but government version.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Small government version.
Yeah,
Well,
local government version.
Mustaches not connected to beards and shit. I mean, mustaches by themselves, they do carry a lot of implications. You got Magnum PI. You got fucking Ned Flanders. You know what I mean?
Ned
Like-
Fucking
Flanders.
weirdos with mustaches.
Just like wearing nothing at all. Nothing at all.
But
Stupid, sexy Flanders.
I don't know if you had any particular thoughts about the trailer, but I thought it was fine. I was kind of underwhelmed. I'm excited to see Chris Pine again because I thought Chris Pine kind of carried the first movie.
I think it's weird
if
that
I'm honest.
like in a movie called Wonder Woman, why am I looking forward to Steve fucking Trevor so goddamn much?
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested if any of the crew from the original squad in the first movie make an appearance. You know, elderly, obviously, but it'd be cool if they made like a small appearance. You know, in the retirement home, and they see Trevor again. They're like, Steve, fuck, and then they have
We
a heart
thought you
attack. and
died.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I think it's kind of cool the way they're playing it. I don't know how I feel about Chitara and
As
the actress.
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tara, like from Thundercats?
No.
Well, they call her Cheetah, but it's
Same.
same thing.
basic
they interchanged
idea.
the name. Yeah,
Yeah,
But-
the lady turns into a cat lady.
she's a goddess of the hunt, and she
Yeah.
basically occupies a human woman, and it's convoluted and silly.
Minerva.
It's comics.
She's the goddess Minerva.
It's
Minerva?
yeah.
it's comics. And
yeah.
so she turns into a
Minerva wasn't like that kind of goddess, though, was she? Oh, she was the goddess of the hunt. Huh?
yeah.
yeah. She becomes a crazy cat lady that wants to kill everybody and hunt
crazy
Wonder Woman.
cat lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Minerva,
That has a lot of
aka
implications, though.
Athena,
Yeah.
aka Hunt Goddess.
Yeah. So it's
Visit
I don't
your
know.
Local lazy crazy cat lady, guys.
Yeah, I feel
Support
like
crazy cat ladies.
I feel like Cheetah's going to be completely the wrong character to be in this movie at all. I don't see why she's in it if the plot circulates around Steve Trevor and what Wonder Woman has to do to bring him back.
And
Why are
whoever
we-
this wish
Why is
granting
Kristen
guy
Wiig
is.
in here acting awkward and just kind of removing the respectability of the movie a little bit? I don't know.
I think so far I'm getting an vibe to this movie.
Yeah, I think they're trying to cash in on the 80s nostalgia too, and it's a little too late. I think the 80s nostalgia period passed.
It is
think-
passing. and
I
it's
think,
really
you know,
sad.
I mean,
I'm gonna go
Once
home and
Stranger
listen to
Things
some
hit its fourth
Vaporwave.
season, I think we finally just gave up on it. Yeah.
It's still there's still so much more to that era that needs to be unearthed. Like it's really not there. We have early '80s, we have mid '80s, we have late '80s. I mean,
we have the
I
part of
find
the 90s that thought it was the 80s.
I find
There
the
you go.
I find the 80s so uninteresting compared to other eras though. Like the 70s and 60s are so much more interesting.
blasphemy.
That's what I think. I think everything in the 80s was so artificial and boxy and just fake.
Well,
It was
that was
almost like a
style.
culmination.
That was
It
the
was
style
peak.
decade.
Yeah, man.
I
It
don't
was
like
You
it.
took all that shit that was from back at that time,
Yeah.
and this is when it all peaked, man. This is when they learned how to use synthesizers. This is when they fucking
Don't remind me.
fucking what is it, silver pants and shit, and fucking you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was
light
the
shows
they-
or something.
it was
I
the
don't know.
era of excess and drugs and hilarious
Well,
things.
guess
that
what?
were-
There was
drugs,
excess and drugs in the 60s and 70s too.
A lot
you know?
more, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was the peak. This was the refinement. This was like the pinnacle. I mean, of all that shit, all the shit that came from the 70s and 80s. This shit was all refined through a funnel, and at the 80s pinnacle, it just was like shining in the sky. Like
I don't know about that one. I wouldn't call it
Kinda
shining.
just-
Yeah.
then in the 2000s, it was just like
I wouldn't call the Reagan years shining necessarily.
I mean, the shit
Yeah.
that was
I
going on.
80s
was
cars
not
are
good.
hideous.
Yeah.
The clothes are hideous. The colors are hideous.
That's my
The
shit.
homes are hideous.
No.
The shows
watch-
sucked.
You watch- what's it called?
Hey,
The
hey, you
animation-
take that
the
back.
animation sucked.
The greatest American
hell no.
hero came out of that
Please.
decade. Don't you
Oh,
dare.
God.
The greatest American hero, the fucking the A-Team.
You know,
And
talking about the 80s.
yeah,
80s
getting a little heated over here.
80s
Yeah.
sucked. All right.
I was born during the 80s, okay?
That's great, you know.
Oh.
I was born in '90, so it's fine.
He just doesn't understand, bro.
It's fine.
Hey,
He,
it's okay,
he,
man.
he has.
I'm not walking around saying the 90s is the greatest era ever just because I was born in it.
That's because you couldn't make that argument, dude.
Please, I had the Clintons.
There's no facts to back it up, bro.
Clinton versus Reagan. I'll take Clinton. Thanks.
Well, I mean, some shit was going on.
Come on,
in
man.
the government in the 80s,
There's
but
always
you
shit
wasn't
going
feeling
on.
it yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You didn't
Yeah,
feel
the
shit
crack
till the
epidemic.
90s.
That was great. That was great fun in the
It
80s.
didn't happen
Woo.
until the 90s, though.
Okay, yeah, the 90s had the crime bill.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Reagan made those laws in the 80s, and then the shit culminated in the 90s. But during the 80s, that shit wasn't going on.
Yeah, you know what the greatest thing that came out of the 80s was, besides
AIDS?
myself? The 90s.
Besides myself, yes, the 90s came out of the fucking 80s, dude.
You don't get
So,
one without the
you're
other.
not helping your argument.
You're
You're not making your argument any better.
What he's saying. If you
You're saying the
want
90s, which were better than the 80s, are the result of the 80s. So the
nobody said
80s
they
are
were
clearly better.
But they said they were dependent
That makes
upon
no
each
sense.
other.
The 80s sucked. I wish
How
I lived
dare
in the
you.
70s.
All the opinions of his that I liked, and he goes ahead and ruins it with this shit. What the fuck?
He takes the 80s so personally.
Oh, gosh. I love the 80s.
Okay, on to the next one. I'm sure this next bit of news won't incite so much love for the 80s that
there's
you can't
There's
stand.
definitely, well, this one might be a little bit nicer.
Might
the
be.
The one after, not so much. Next on the news, we had the Harley Quinn trailer, and the show is actually out now. It premiered on November 29th on the DC Universe app. It is the animated Harley Quinn show, which I was like, great. More Harley Quinn shit that I don't give a fuck about. And it's going to be animated. It's going to be awful because it's on a DC Universe budget. And, well, yeah, it actually looks kind of cool. I thought it was kind of funny. So it seems like a very adult comedy is the direction they went.
I am
And-
way
I mean,
more
they'd
about
have
that.
to, They'd have to. I mean, there's.
Well, they could have played it down and made it kiddie friendly and just
Oh, fuck
made
that.
it stupid.
Not with
but-
Harleen, bro.
But it seems like she calls Wonder Woman a cunt in the trailer, which is amazing. I mean, they fucking go
You gotta
all
do
out.
something like that, bro. I mean, she's like the female Deadpool.
But I haven't watched any of it
Other
because
than the actual
I
female
refuse to
Deadpool.
buy the
Right.
app until they save Constantine. # save Constantine.
The DC Universe does have the 13 episodes of Constantine on it now, so
But it's the old show. It's the show that's already been made that they gave up
right,
on.
right, which means you need to watch it to show them that that's what you want.
No, we don't. We don't haggle with fucking terrorists. All right. Yeah?
Look,
who
this is a
doesn't negotiate with
business.
terrorists?
This is a business. You have to vote with your money and your viewership.
No, I don't. No, I really don't, though. So I'm paying for Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and all this other bullshit. If you got 3 shows, Titans, I guess you got Swamp Thing, although you canceled half of it. You got Titans, you got, what was it? The Harley Quinn show, obviously, and you canceled Swamp Thing before it was even finished and didn't let them make all the episodes, so that's kind of not out.
Doom
Patrol.
Patrol.
Brendan Fraser might be worth it. I'll admit that. But now they're putting it on HBO, so it's like, what's the fucking point now?
I
Brendan
think
Fraser.
season 2 is going to HBO.
I'm sorry.
Fraser have any appeal left at all? I don't know.
I mean, he's kind of fat and sad, which kind of depresses me, but I still love Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, but now he's
I don't know,
fat,
is he gonna
sad,
come
and
back?
He was in-
dramatic.
he was in-
Is he dramatic?
I mean, in Doom Patrol, from what I've seen, he definitely is.
I haven't seen the shit, but
Exactly.
I
No
would
one has.
imagine That,
Because no one's going to pay $8 a month for another app that has 4 shows, one of which isn't finished.
They're slowly adding shows to it.
Slowly, key
yeah,
term.
Young Justice Outsiders got their season 3 on that.
they're fucking it up, bro.
It's like buying the N64 when it came out in '96 for full price and getting 2 games.
It's like harsh realism. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't like the tone it's taking, but I mean, I can't deny the logic. So, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Now, if it was a WB app and it had all the WB properties on there, then it might be worth it
Now,
because
Disney won in that case.
that's a lot of content. But just DC, as much as I love DC, it's, obviously I'm the fanboy here.
You
Disney
are.
rung
It's
their
not-
motherfucking bell with that one, bro.
It's just not worth it to me. Like maybe if you can get
I'm
the
not,
free.
I'm not saying that the body of work.
Also,
isn't worth
also,
it and all
comics
that
are
shit.
already on that app now. It's like they've had the comics.
I have other comics. I have boxes and boxes of them over there.
Harsh
I got-
realism.
How am I the Marvel guy trying to pitch an app specifically for your favorite universe?
I
to
think
you?
because you are so pissed at Marvel, you're just sabotaging the brand at this point. What you can't deny it. I mean, speaking of sabotaging the brand, next item of the news, the Birds of Prey trailer also came out, and the fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn or whatever.
Yep.
Fucking retarded. But it's coming out on February 7th, 2020, and recently announced is going to be R-rated. So clearly, the success of Joker gave them the green light to make this R-rated. However, what's the fucking point? Because nobody's asking for this. You know, Suicide Squad is possibly one of the worst movies of all time, if not the worst movie of all time.
I mean, let's just leave that out of all conversations. Future, past, and present.
It's just,
I wish it didn't exist. So let's pretend it doesn't.
It's so bad.
It's horrible.
I was trying to pretend it didn't exist, and then Emery's ass bought it for me for Christmas a few years ago, and which obligated me to watch it finally. And I knew it was gonna be bad.
You kept trying to live in blissful ignorance.
I really was
saying that it's an Oscar-winning movie
it won an Oscar. It did.
for hair and set design.
God, it's so bad.
This is fucking rigged, man.
But they have this new trailer. I don't know what you felt about it. I was like, well, it looks as bad as I think it's going to be. And I really have nothing more to say about that because I don't want anybody to see it.
It looks like Suicide Squad Part 2, and that's before even getting to the realization that there's another Suicide Squad movie coming
with
out.
new actors playing the characters.
It-
Thanks, James Gunn. I mean, that's cool and all, but why don't we just reboot this fucking universe? Because it's not working. You know, Joker just made $1 billion without premiering in China. So, big shout out to Cornell. Unfortunately, he had to run because of work restrictions. He had to get going so he could get some sleep tonight. But big thank you to him, and be sure to check out the book you mentioned there on Amazon, I believe he said. Okay, right?
yes, it was the
About the War of 1812,
War of 1812.
Battle for Lake Erie.
Yes.
So be sure to check that out if you would. But anyway, we'll get back into the news here.
All right.
Last we talked about Birds of Prey and the trailer. Looks bad to me.
Looks bad to me.
I don't think we need to say anything else on that.
Yeah, fuck 'em.
Next up, Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker is out. It's probably the latest nerd release that's been released here in the Christmas season. It came out on December 20th, 2019. I haven't seen it yet because, quite honestly, Rian Johnson kind of ruined Star Wars for me, and I just really don't have any desire to see any more Star Wars products for the near future because of that, but I'm sure I'll have to see this at some point so we can review it properly. Emery saw it. Can you give us your spoiler-free impressions?
Would you like to sit in a theater and think exactly one word for 2.5 hours straight? That one word being convenient.
Ringing endorsement. Now, here's the thing. I think J.J. Abrams is a great director. I really respect J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams obviously did The Force Awakens, and I think he did a great job. You know, it was predictable. It was kind of repeating history. But I think he did a great job because he made Finn a really interesting character. He made Rey kind of an interesting character. He made a guy that wasn't even supposed to be a main character, Poe Dameron. He made him really interesting. That's what a good director does. I think Rian Johnson coming in the middle of that, writing his own script and his own story because they didn't plan anything out ahead of time. They're dedicated to a trilogy, and they're just going to improvise along the way. I think Rian Johnson really fucked the series over. I think he kind of fucked up a lot of the lore, not unlike George Lucas did with the prequels, you know, for a lot of people. Although I personally think Rian Johnson did something worse, which is he made not only the lore irrelevant, but he made everything just a huge plot hole. Just everything that's ever happened in Star Wars lore is just completely ruined by the things that happen in The Last Jedi. So
Yeah, The Last Jedi was a very pretty, very messy, nothing burger of a movie,
yeah, I mean,
where most of it was spent watching space vehicles run out of gas.
one person. I mean, obviously they're tongue-in-cheek joking a little bit here, but one person I saw on a recent thread, a fan thread, it's called for the podcast Beyond from IGN thread. If anybody's familiar, they always post all sorts of nerd stuff. But one guy jokingly put on there, watching The Last Jedi was like watching the O.J. Simpson chase. Just one long, slow, boring chase with the police. And then I put in the comments, yeah, it's like that, but then he put a brick on the gas pedal, walked away from the car chase, went to the casino for an hour and a half, and then walked back, got back in the car, and finished the car chase.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so nonsensical, and
Yeah,
I feel bad for J.J. Abrams because they're pulling him in to basically save it. And I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say yay or nay, but I feel like he was given an impossible job and an impossible mission to try to backtrack or if not fix the things that Rian Johnson fucked up. And I'm kind of glad that it looks like the Rian Johnson trilogy isn't going to happen because, quite frankly, he doesn't deserve it.
Here's the thing with Rise of Skywalker. Almost everything you've heard that was a spoiler, it's true. What people haven't told you is that part that I just said earlier about spending 2.5 hours thinking one word convenient. All of the spoilers that you've heard, convenience is how we get from spoiled point to spoiled point. Everything is done and said for the sake of convenience, trying to show you something a little pretty, and moving on to the movie that we thought we really wanted to make up until we realized that we had to reshoot the ending several times because, well, the ideas that we had for the ending, if they're true, somehow managed to be even worse than what was delivered here.
Wow.
I've heard, and at this point now completely believe, that there were original screenings of this movie where the original ending literally made people who were paid to watch this get up and leave.
Yeah, I've heard quite
And that was before they had to bring in George Lucas to help them try to fix this train wreck.
Yeah, it's again, Rian Johnson gave them an impossible task to have to work with. You know, there was just no way they could win. There's just no way, unless they just completely ignored the 8th movie. There's no way that they could win in this situation. And from the sounds of it, they really doubled down on not winning.
Here's the thing. They doubled down on not winning, weirdly enough, by doing the thing that you just said. Acting as though, in a lot of ways, that episode 8 didn't happen.
Wow. Bold move, Cotton.
Not only did they manage to overlook, or in some ways completely undo what happened in episode 8, what happens in episode 9, which I'm assuming at this point was J.J. Abrams' original direction and overall trajectory for this entire story, it was still stupid. It was still so stupid to the point of, I mean, there's convenience, and then there's literally trying to input video game logic into a story that I think I've just come to the conclusion that maybe we need more than a couple of years to make these movies, since, you know, Star Wars isn't Marvel. We don't have, like, decades worth of previously existing material that we could draw from.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or did we?
Well, you know, If you use the expanded universe, then everybody would already know what's gonna happen. So throw it in the garbage and let 3 separate writers figure it out.
3 separate writers: J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, and J.J. Abrams again? What happened to Colin Trevorrow? Did he see what was happening and say, yeah, nah, no, fuck that?
But yeah, it's just weird because I felt like The Force Awakens gave fans so much hope that we had these new, really cool, really interesting characters, and then we just shat on them with the next movie. And now the third movie, I'm hearing just nothing good. I mean, there's a handful of people in review land saying, "Oh, it's Star Wars. It's the most Star Wars of all thing." And you know how Kevin Smith is.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith says nothing negative about anything.
He's a yes man.
He loves Suicide Squad.
He's
come
a
on.
yes man, top to goddamn bottom.
I love Kevin Smith, but he
It was
doesn't
like-
have discerning taste.
Right. It was
That
like,
or he just doesn't want to upset his Hollywood buddies, which
Yeah,
I understand as well.
yeah,
When
like
you're getting backstage access to the most exclusive products in the world, I get it.
I like Kevin Smith's work. His critique, on the other hand, is barely even that.
Yeah. And I mean, even his counterpart, Mark Bernardin, sometimes, on Fat Man on Batman, if you're not familiar,
Yeah.
even that stuff, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure, man? I don't
Yeah,
know if I
it's
see
his-
it that way.
there-
And I
there-
do see him as a far more discerning taste than
Yeah.
Kevin Smith.
Even his far more discerning taste tends to toe the line.
Yeah, and I think it's his profession is that he's a reviewer for a newspaper. So
Yeah.
you can imagine how much pressure he's under to not insult certain companies and certain people.
Right, because
imagine.
they're all...
I don't know this for certain. I'm not attacking his credibility or anything, but
Because they're super sensitive out there, apparently.
you would wonder. Yeah, because there have been cases where Disney in particular has caused people to get fired and blacklisted because they couldn't basically interview for any of the movies or review any of the movies or get the pre-screenings for any of the movies that they needed to do to get their job.
That is at the beginning of an entire discussion about the perils of access media that I could spend hours talking about. But
So, bottom line, would you recommend people see this movie?
never.
Wow.
I would recommend, for the sake of not even getting caught up in this toilet swirl of bullshit, I would say don't even introduce episode 7 to your children. Don't do it.
Don't get them invested.
Don't even get them invested
It's
in
the
this shit.
gateway drug.
It is like it just
Sure,
keep
it's
it-
fun. It's great. Everybody likes it, but then you get to episode 8. And then by episode 9, you're laying in the gutter, sucking dicks on the corner.
Any movie that makes me think, wow, episode 1 really wasn't that bad. Any movie that manages to make me feel like that,
Wow.
you done fucked up.
All right, this is going to be a spoiler for our review because I don't want to see the movie. But what would be your score out of 10? Well, I'm just curious if it's lower than Miss Marvel for you, or Captain Marvel, excuse me.
Um,
And I didn't think Captain Marvel was that bad, but boy, does Emery hate that movie.
okay, on an infinity like Mobius strip, if there was any way to basically approach the origin point and pass 0 into the negative and just never stop going backward. It's this is a wormhole of suck.
Wow.
This
A wormhole of suck. That's a great term.
Now, mind you, this is a very pretty movie. This is a very well choreographed movie. But there isn't enough well choreographed fight scenes with lightsabers or choreographed chases through the desert with people just having jetpacks, because apparently we can't end a trilogy in a fucking Star Wars without someone in a fucking jetpack. We just... When you have all of this pretty shit and you still can't get me to suspend my disbelief or make me think, Huh. You're just we're just trying to move it along at breakneck pace, and we're just adding a bunch of shit apropos of nothing. And just trying to just slather it on. Just slather on all of these. It's like, ooh, look at this new thing. Ooh, look at this new thing. Ooh, look at what this person can do now. With absolutely no training or forethought to even be capable of doing that at all.
Wow. Yeah, your review is pretty consistent with what I've been hearing from a lot of people I respect and listen to. So that bums me out, but yeah.
Your eyes will be dazzled, but your mind your mind will be gently lulled to sleep into made to never really think of anything Star Wars related ever again.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's
you
like
know, at least according to Cornell's opinion and my co-host from the other show, Hit the Mats podcast, Dan Maloney, they really like The Mandalorian, so at least they got that going for them, Star Wars fans. Good luck.
Good for them. It's like, hey, there's a really good game out. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Could also check that out. The main character is literally the guy who played one of, I think, 3 different Jokers in the Gotham TV series. If you're into playing a game that's basically Jedi Sekiro, where you have to dodge and parry all the time, play that game. It's a lot of fun. If you're into, from what I keep hearing, is some kind of good, bad, and the ugly, but with a baby Yoda, whereas like you're, lugging around a baby. And from what I hear, The Mandalorian might be for you if that's your thing.
Great.
But if you were looking for any kind of satisfying conclusion to Star Wars or an entire series of movies that had one of the greatest villains of all time, Darth Vader, in it, it's a conclusion. And may we never, ever go back there ever again.
Man. What's that now? So let's see. How many of the movies are good or great? So I'd say Empire, New Hope, Rogue One, Force Awakens. 4 out of 9 movies? Well,
I would say 3.
because there's Solo and Rogue One, so I would say 4 out of 11 movies. I haven't seen the new one yet, so I probably shouldn't make an opinion about that. But I haven't heard anything that makes me think that I'll like it. So
Right. I think you and I are still split on The Force Awakens, but
that's fair.
yeah.
I just like the character work so much, you know.
I mean, that's reasonable.
I didn't like Rey in Last Jedi because I thought nothing she did made sense and nothing her character does make sense. And Finn, I fucking love Finn and Rey both in Force Awakens. I love Poe in Force Awakens. I think the characters that don't really shine are the old characters, Han and Chewie and Leia. But
so you like Finn and Rey, huh?
Yeah, I hear good things don't happen. I hear that they kind of forget Finn's even a thing. Which is what The Last Jedi did, which is why they sent him on a side quest for an hour and a half.
Yep, it's almost like we had this character that had some potential, and it's like, no, just...
Remember in the first movie when they made it seem like Finn was going to be the main character through the new trilogy? Like he was kind of the forefront of all the trailers?
I would say, and this is me lumping together The Force Awakens with The Last Jedi, that was just the beginning of expectations being subverted.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next topic because we're getting depressed. We're getting sad and grumpy.
Dark times.
Space is dark, man. Next up, we got the first look at the Black Widow trailer. Movie due out May 1st, 2020. Just a little bit before the Wonder Woman 1984. So we got... kind of the two big women of the Marvel and DC cinematic universes going head to head, pretty close there. We'll see how that works out. What did you think of the trailer?
Too little, too late. I don't care. The point in which this movie should have come out is literally the point where Captain Marvel did come out. They had, like, for a story taking place between Civil War and Infinity War, that was the real estate that Black Widow should have gotten. And now that I see is like, oh, look, he's fat Captain Russia, I guess. Like, oh, look, there's more people from the Widow. Like, oh, like I guess that's Taskmaster. This is great.
We got
Fun.
depressing David Harbour.
It is
playing
wonderful.
Captain Russia Man.
Captain Russia Man. It's like he's gotten fat. He's gotten fat, and Rachel Weisz
I
goes
did
out of her way to say it.
I did think it was funny that we had controversy because it was fat shaming.
Oh my god. Oh
I
my
fucking
god.
hate America.
It's so stupid.
I was literally an infantryman in the American Army, and I fucking hate myself. America sucks. You
Ugh.
can't just let anything exist.
It-
You just gotta make everything into a controversy.
It's like we're chasing after purity that is literally unattainable.
Whatever.
And yeah, Captain Russia got fat. It's almost like he's probably been doing absolutely nothing since the maybe one time he got used in whatever fucking super soldier program they had.
Yeah.
And
So.
it's Black Widow. Black Widow at a time, like taking place during a time when the time for that story is already passed.
Yeah.
And it's already about a story that I give less than two shits about, because the one that we're all wondering is Hawkeye, Black Widow, Budapest. What the fuck?
That's what I thought the movie was going to be and probably should have been. But nope, we're getting 5 years, everyone's dead story, side story about old, depressing Captain Russia. And Taskmaster, I guess, because it doesn't really look like Taskmaster, but, whatever.
We're going to say this guy he let his hood down. He has the hood, but he's like, from the shot that we see, his hood is down.
Yeah.
And it's like you see him draw an arrow. And I'm just assuming that at some point he's going to have a shield that he throws and like maybe a couple other things to basically be the guy that once Black Widow fights him, it's going to make it look like, oh, well, I guess Black Widow was the best Avenger this whole time and we just never got to see it.
Yeah, 'cause she died before she could, spoiler.
Right.
I might have to cut that, but I don't know. I mean, it came out this year.
Yeah,
I'll probably cut it.
Literally,
Maybe not.
everyone knows she dies.
All right, fuck it. She dies.
Yeah. Not only does everyone know, that is literally the spoiler that is going to be hanging over the head of this character for the entirety of the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to have stakes when you know the character is going to be completely fine at the end.
Right. Stakes. You know, the thing that keeps you interested in, like, motivated to continue to watch what happens? What the
Yeah, it's a weird decision. Not sure I like it. The trailer, I mean, it looks fun. It looks like there's going to be some cool choreographed fight scenes, and I think it's going to look cool. But beyond that, I really don't have much interest, I love Scarlett Johansson as an actress. I think the Black Widow character is actually pretty interesting on her own. But it's the wrong setting, the wrong time. It's leaving too much. So yeah, Black Widow coming out once again on May 1st, 2020. We'll see how it is. I'm happy she's getting a movie, but I just think they
poor timing.
hit it at the wrong time, and I don't think they thought it through very well. We'll see. They tend to surprise us when we least expect it, so it's good on them. Another piece of recent news, it's announced that many of the properties that were made by the bankrupted Telltale series company were picked up by basically a purchaser that wants to publish them, wants to finish it. Telltale got some external funding, and they're now finishing several projects. Among them is the classic comic book based series Wolf Among Us Season 2. which was previously announced and then canceled because Telltale had some financial troubles, but it looks like it is now on its way. And then the other one is Batman Telltale Season 3, which is also on its way, which is cool because both of them are very well regarded, but very well rated. I hope they fix their game engine with this new funding because that was the biggest problem they had was
they just never innovated.
their game engine just always crashed and always stuttered and stopped and just never worked right. And sometimes it wouldn't save your choices and it would screw things up. The concept's great, and I get it's a lot of branching scenarios, but other games have already done it better. So
yeah.
hopefully they adapt to that. Hopefully they do well, and hopefully they don't go bankrupt again. You know, we don't want anybody to lose their jobs, and I think they make, very good stories and good games, and I'm looking forward to this. I did play Wolf Among Us Season 1, really liked it. Kind of wanted a little more from it, to be honest with you. I thought it kind of finished and it was just but I did enjoy the experience. I have the Batman series, I have them on my PlayStation profile, but I'm playing catch up. I just now finished the Assassin's Creed Syndicate game, the London one.
Oh, you finished that one,
from
huh?
like 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm that far behind. So that's how far my backlog goes. So I'll eventually get to it, and I really do want to finish it up and review it and talk about it. But I'm glad that it's still going. I'm glad it's coming back because it is very well regarded.
I think they might have been bought by someone who also wanted them to fucking finish.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I've been playing these games, man. I will give you money. Just finish.
Yes, please. So The Watchmen has come out on HBO. Have you watched any of it?
I have not, but I've heard some good things. I've heard some weird things. I've heard a couple of bad things.
Yeah, I've heard like it starts off pretty bad, and then I heard it gets better as it goes on. It's like one of those things. If you stick with it, it becomes better. That's kind of how I feel about The Witcher right now for the Netflix series. But I don't have an HBO subscription, and, unless I bootleg it or something, there's no way I'm going to watch it probably.
Yeah, I've heard one thing is important to realize going into it is that it very specifically takes place after the comic, not the movie.
So, and I've heard that they kind of go with the comic version of Watchmen, not necessarily the Snyder version.
Oh,
as far as the story goes.
From the images that I've seen, it's very strongly the comic version.
Yeah, which kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. I actually liked how Snyder ended his version of the Watchmen more than the monster from, the scapegoat monster falling out of space and all that stuff. I actually liked Mr. Manhattan being framed more or less. Personally, I just thought it was smarter.
Yeah. In my humble, honest opinion, I think it being very clear that it is Dr. Manhattan, at least in my opinion, it kind of breaks the original idea. Well, when you have someone who's been outed as the Superman, and he is American, according to the movie, that in my mind, the way that should have gone is, he's attacked everyone, and including the United States. He's still what we know to be an American hero, so we're still going to attack America, is how I would have seen that movie going.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for convenience sake and to make it a little less expensive, which, make no mistake, a citywide weird squid monster thing would have been stupidly expensive.
And it probably would have been stupid on on many levels, just on the big screen. So I thought it was a smarter decision. I totally understand your perspective and people saying that I'd rather have the true comic book story for contextual reasons. I totally get it.
At some point, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, we're trying to rush through these last few news items because we're running out of battery.
Yep.
We've already had some awkward breaks in there. The next item was just the Witcher TV series is premiered on Netflix. We already touched on that quite a bit, so I'm not going to go too heavy into it. Don't recommend it, at least the first episode, unless you really are versed in the lore and you've read the books and stuff, because they just jump into short stories and you don't have any context for what time period it is relative to the main story. You don't know who's the main character because it jumps around so much. I mean, unless you actually are familiar with The Witcher, you're not even probably going to realize that Henry Cavill's character is the main character, because the first 2 episodes focus almost entirely on 2 different characters. So
yeah, it sounds not very beginner friendly.
and like I said, whoever directed the first one did a terrible job. I don't know if they were filming it as a pilot or what, but it's the camera angles are awful and the costume design is awful. So take that with a grain of salt. Actors do a great job with what they're given, but it's a rough product. Second one looks much more refined, much better, runs much smoother. But again, contextually, they're not telling you the facts that these are events all happening at totally different time periods in these characters' lives, relative to each other, like literally hundreds of years apart. That it makes it seem like it's all happening at the same time, which it's not. Unless they just completely change the story, which I doubt, because it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're just ripping everything straight from the short stories in the books, like verbatim. So, I mean, even entire lines of dialogue are straight out of the books. It's just the way they're portraying it is so rushed and like shotgunny. And, the stories are just one story by itself, isolated, and then the next story by itself, isolated. The show, each episode is like 3 or 4 different stories, all going on at the same time, which are not actually in the timeline going on at the same time. And it's very confusing, jumping from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and back and forth. It's very convoluted. So I wish they would have organized that a little better.
It sounds like a bunch of mini stories that seem like they're supposed to be providing you with context, and somehow they themselves need context.
Yeah, I mean, the lore is there, and the explanations are there, and the hints about the time periods are there. But if you have to listen really intently, and you have to know what the fuck they're talking about, otherwise you're going to be completely lost. Even people that play the games, unless you like actually stopped and read all the books and the games, you're not going to have any idea what they're talking about.
Oof.
Yeah, it's rough. But I'm enjoying it as a person who is versed in the fandom. If you're versed in the Witcher books and the lore, by all means, dive in. It's fun. Henry Cavill's great. The actresses are great. There's great action scenes in it. I'm really enjoying it. I think the first monster you see is kind of goofy and doesn't really work, but because it's just a CGI, like poor CGI blob.
Yeah.
But it gets better. It does get better. Especially like the jump from episode 1 to 2 is just drastically different in terms of quality and production and acting. Everything is so much better in episode 2.
Seems like the first one might have just been the pilot.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, there's different directors on literally every episode, so it could go downhill, it could go uphill, it could be the huge roller coaster ride. I don't know yet. Next up on the news, we did want to touch this because it was on previous lost episodes, but we didn't get to talk about it because the episode never came out. The Joker did finish its run over $1 billion, as we were predicting, which is a fucking outrageous success. It's the most profitable per investment movie that WB has ever made, and that is saying something. It's an R-rated film. It's a very controversial movie because of the content. It's very intense content. Please check out our review if you haven't already. We both really liked it, obviously. But it officially made $1,060,000,000 at the box office without releasing in China. Basically, there's been quite a few billion-dollar movies recently, but almost all of them have been almost like 60% reliant on the market in China, which is crazy. They couldn't release this film in China because there's several things going on in Hong Kong, obviously, and the content's very intense, so I'm sure there's some kind of, conduct that's not allowed to be portrayed.
Yeah.
I would assume. I don't know factually. But it seems like this is a very, if you're in some government turmoil, you may not want this appearing in your country and inciting potential violence and stuff like that from the populace.
We do live in a society.
But, I mean, movies like Captain Marvel and Aquaman, they're okay movies. Aquaman more so maybe, even though I didn't like it quite as much. But I don't think either of those movies deserved $1 billion in return. I really don't. I don't wish anything ill from the creators, from the property owners, or anything like that. And I'm glad that there's a successful Captain Marvel out there and a successful Aquaman out there. But Yeah, I didn't think those movies were deserving of what they raked in. However, I think Joker took a lot of risks, and I think the studio actively tried to prevent this movie from being released by giving them an oppressively small budget. And actors like the previous Joker from Suicide Squad. Why is his name not coming to mind?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto actively behind the scenes trying to prevent it from happening because he wants to be the Joker, and quite frankly, I don't want to see more of his Joker. But yeah, there was a lot of things working against this movie. There's controversy before the movie even came out where people were kind of fear-mongering it and saying, oh, this is going to lead to all sorts of unprovoked violence from people, and nothing happened.
Literally nothing.
So it's a great movie. I'm glad it was really successful. I'm glad that DC was able to take the risk despite Warner Brothers' best attempts at preventing that. And it shows that you can make, just like Deadpool and Deadpool 2, you can make great focused, coherent storylines, character-focused storylines like Logan is another example, in an R-rated world and still have tons of success. So
yeah, I mean, it definitely does ride on the fact that, I mean, it's basically Joker in a couple of different movies from Martin Scorsese that were very intelligently weaved together to make one story that makes complete sense for the Joker.
yeah, it's great. Go see it if you haven't already. Pick it up if you're an adult, obviously.
Yes, only if you're an adult.
Don't
Good
show
God.
Don't show to the kids, please.
Yeah, no, they're not ready.
And then I think that's probably a big reason why the Birds of Prey movie got turned to an R rating, is they probably felt like, oh, maybe it is financially safe. I don't think it's going to make it a good movie. I think it's actually going to be a worse movie now, because now they're going to have Margot Robbie getting naked and stuff for no reason, I'm sure. But
yeah, this is
We'll see.
an after the fact R is almost always a sign that there's going to be something superfluous done just for the sake of getting to say that it's an R rating.
no doubt. And then our very last news item of the day, Lock and Key has been announced for a Netflix series, and it's due to come out February 7th, 2020, which is outstanding. I fucking love Lock and Key. If you watched our older episodes, I talk about Lock and Key all the time because I fucking love it. It's so good. It's from
Yeah,
IDW.
you have.
It's a really great series, really great book. I think it'll make a great TV show because the style of the story is very episodic, where each kind of length of the book kind of revolves around one or two key to the story. Ha ha ha, pun there. Again, I'm trying to rush. I'm not going to spoil anything. Great book. Pick up the book if you can prior to watching the show, before the show comes out, because it really is deserving of your money and your time and your attention. Really great art, really great storytelling, really fun book, adult content. Go see it. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap it up and go home. There's no topic of the week because we went on really long. We rambled quite a bit. I'm probably going to have to edit a lot of stuff out because, quite frankly, we went off topic a lot.
Yeah, we did.
But I want to thank Cornell once again for stopping by and joining us for the show. Like I said, there's no comic books of the week because there really wasn't anything coming out. There's like maybe 4 or 5 books, and most of them were fucking Betty Page books, getting you to try to buy boobs.
Thanks, Dynamite.
So we really do appreciate you sticking with us. I know it's been a while since we've gotten a finished episode up. We've been busy, the drill. But
yeah,
we got a new production computer, got everything laid out again. And now we got new jobs, so that's a concern because we're trying to figure out the schedules. But
yeah,
we are trying to get things back up and running again. We really appreciate your patience with everything. Once again, you can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify. Am I missing anything?
SoundCloud.
YouTube. We're not on SoundCloud because their infrastructure sucks.
Yeah.
But pretty much everything else, Podbean. I don't know if I mentioned that one. We're on pretty much every streaming service you can imagine. We're on YouTube. If you go on our YouTube page and give us a like and subscribe, it really, really does help us out. So please do that if you can. We do have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/hitthebooks if you'd like to contribute and help us keep the show up and pay for our editing software and everything else. Keep the lights on, keep the show running. A lot of the hindrances we have are financial, in nature. So all this stuff, takes money. We haven't made a profit on anything here. It's literally just the purest money dump passion project we've had. And
Oh yeah.
shout out to Heather Holcomb, Heather Reap now, excuse me,
Oh.
her married name. She has been a consistent contributor to the show with her contributions on Patreon. So thank you very much to Heather Reap for being a great producer of the show. We really do appreciate it, and we apologize. It's been so long that we've gotten some new content out on the books. So more to come. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can always reach us at Twitter at HTBvids, on Facebook at /HitTheBooks, and our website is HTBvids, tongue-tied, .com. I've been your host, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And thank you for watching. We will see you next week. Goodbye. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa.
So long.
Happy winter solstice.
Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Goodbye.